I'm an ex-fat bloke, so I
The
know.
day after Pride. That's your Pride.
Well, it's
day.
relevant.
We are live
we're
now.
down, and we're down. Okay. That's our live.
We always
get rid
crash
of them
in.
because there might be some legal thing if I start saying stuff accidentally.
Well, just don't go into a rage on.
I'm doing this for people. This isn't for me. I'm the only one.
I think it's a
the
little bit
people.
for you.
But I'm the only one. Oh, God.
Hello, everyone. By the way, hi. You've caught us mid-argument about a well-known.
But I wonder if you're
Sweetie
doing
brand
it to
from-
annoy me.
No,
rather than, but
I
you
didn't
know
go
I'm right.
when I was in Marks and Spencer.
Yeah, that's
other supermarkets are available. I wasn't going, what's going to annoy Theo? It was that one because initially I saw some honeycomb chocolates and I thought, oh, that'd be some nice treat. But I thought that's not very podcast. Oh, you had those. But I thought that's not very podcast friendly to us all crunching. Whereas things we can discreetly, not discreetly anymore.
Gelatin-free chewy sweets.
Yeah, exactly. But you know,
My thing of not eating those isn't
Yes.
the sugar thing, even though I say that's bad or whatever. It's because mentally I have to know. I've had an argument with the bloke about it. So if I went against it, and those
you had an
I'd be a
argument
bloody
with
hypocrite.
Percy himself.
No, and he's saying it for kids. And I said, it's made. No, it was called. I can't even say the name, but I said that is not for adults. And then he realised he had nothing to say, so he didn't get back to me after that.
Okay. Anyway, hello to Ria,
Hi.
our guest
hello,
this
Ria.
week.
Can we attend to what we were talking
Yes,
about?
because initially,
Andrew has a question for you.
Yeah, hello and welcome. So we were coming up with a name for this episode. I think it's episode 39, and then it was going to be subtitled. I know. We thought long and hard. You've got more than
Love
Star
it.
Wars, and we were saying,
But not as many as the Fast and the Furious. So.
No, that's true. Actually, it's not as. Yeah.
Was it you told me they're good films?
No, I've seen 20. I think I've seen 20 minutes
another
collectively
argument.
of where it's just on in the background.
Who told me they go into space? Was that Charles then?
Yeah, is that true though, or is he just tricking you?
winding me
I
up.
don't know. They
Are
could
they
be
longer
going
than
to.
20 minutes? The name belies the length.
Yeah,
of
it
the
kind of
film.
feels like it's gone in 60 seconds, and it was,
And it was like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
Like,
you thought, well,
why'd it
trade
take- same
description.
same with Speed. It's going. Why did that take so long?
Yeah, that's quite.
Do you know a film that I saw the other night? What's a load of shite? Sorry to bring it
Oh, I
up,
haven't
but I
seen
won't
that one.
forget.
What's
Remind
that
me about the Nazi. Because that's a good story. We should have started on that.
Oh, okay.
Because rather than the
Did
argument,
you say the one about the Nazi? The one.
The one.
I meant to text something else, but I was driving, so I texted quickly Nazi. That was an abbreviated version of what I wanted to remember before I got fucking points on my license.
Every once in a while, I get these random messages from Theo saying, "Remind me to say about,"
Oh, I
and then
forget them all. I
and there'll
forget
be
them all
something
straight
blank,
away.
and it will just be the supermarket rap.
But it's only because I was driving, so I put Nazi, and should I grasp myself up?
It's up to you. I'm not.
Imagine if you got stopped using your phone and all he could find on your phone was the word Nazi.
Oh, I delete everything. I don't know. But okay, so this is just showing that I'm having a go at myself. I'm not pretending.
Okay.
So it's my child brain. I saw something German related.
Your child brain that refuses to accept
the child.
the sweets.
Oh, I'm a contradiction here. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
But so I'm just proving I'm not an art. Anyway, I saw something German related.
Okay.
And my brain thought, I've got to text quick because I'm driving. I shouldn't be doing this. I automatically thought Nazi. And it's only when I thought, it's nothing to do with Nazis.
All children make that association.
Exactly.
But it annoyed me. I thought, why did my brain go to that? Why didn't it go to sort
Maybe
of...
you were watching a World War II. Hello to any
Leidhofen or
listeners
What
something.
was
in
the
there.
film? So what was the film that you thought was a load of shite
What
then?
was I talking about? How did I get to that?
Because you were talking.
Right, well...
what was the German thing?
The Rocket Man.
The Rocketeer?
No,
The Rocket Man about Elton John.
Oh,
The bio.
What load
the
of
bio
shit.
Oh.
film.
And the thing is, I'd seen the other one. What was the other?
Bohemian
Prince or whatever.
Queen, the
Queen.
Queen song.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. And that was pretty good, and I liked that. But then I saw this one, I thought, I'll be same sort of thing. That's just a pile of crap.
Yeah, but Bohemian Rhapsody, right? He dies in the end, and the other one you don't know.
No, but he's still a prick
Spoiler.
now. That's the problem. Because you know he's an idiot. So, what's his name?
Elton John.
Yeah. First of all, in the film, he's not likeable. At no point, he's a petulant child. And their worst part of why they justify him being petulant is his dad doesn't give him a hug. No, his dad rapes him. He doesn't kick him down the stairs. He's living on the streets. The worst thing he does is he takes out one of his dad's records, and his dad says, "Don't touch my records," and put them back, and he wants a hug. And I think, that justifies him being a fucking arsehole for the rest of his life, throwing things at people. So the whole way through, I'm thinking, there's no good bit to him here. And then at the end, they make up all these other people coming in and forgiving him, and he forgives them. And you go, right, well, that didn't happen, but he's still an arsehole now. So you've just wiped... The film's got no arc to it at all. He's an arsehole, petulant arsehole, and he's an arsehole now. The film doesn't work. And then what happened, I thought... This happened before. I was watching thinking, right, behind the curtain again, I was thinking, there was no negative here to him in his life. It was always, I got a bad, but yeah. And
There's a little bit like he wins.
And what happened in the credits? What do you think happened in the credits?
People's names.
You find out he's gay. No,
I
haven't seen it.
About 4 credits in at the end. Executive producer Elton John.
Yeah, of course.
And I thought,
but the Queen,
you've done a film on yourself.
But the surviving members of Queen, well, I mean, I think John Deacon is just nominally an executive producer, but the other 2 were producers.
But it's because it was so bloody sycophantic, and I thought, and then you've popped up. It was like, what was that fucking... who's the personal development guru that's not a personal development guru? Stephen something. Who's the tall fella? Anthony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Anthony Robbins, isn't it? Tall fella.
Yeah.
But he's supposed to be the personal development bollocks, right? I'm going to go off topic. But so he brought a documentary out.
Topic?
Yeah, we're going to get... Right, I'm going to stop here. Stop me after this.
But
he did the same thing
where
Netflix brought out a documentary, and it's so... You want to throw up, where it's about... It's supposed to be following him around, and it's called I Am Not Your Guru. Don't... But he funded it.
Yeah.
And you funded it. You're the one that funded the thing on you.
It's a vanity project.
But it's so sickening. Like, does that go, you're evil? How could you physically do that? How could you physically...
Okay, so what are your thoughts on Leaving Neverland? Because that was...
I haven't seen it.
That was...
The Michael Jackson one, wasn't it?
Well, it was... Well, it's one of the Michael Jackson ones, but it was funded by the 2 boys. Well, not funded by, but it was about specifically those 2 boys.
Yeah, since that,
the
things have changed, because that's when people started dropping his records, isn't it? So what happened in that one?
No, it was the release of Leaving Neverland that really reopened it again.
But everyone sort of knew things. What happened in that? Like, everyone was saying, is he, isn't he?
Well, I think for a long time there was... I mean, because obviously he faced accusations, and then the parents always...
But something changed after that documentary.
Yeah, I think a few people dropped where they would use his image in branding. And
but that's what I mean. So what happened in that documentary? Why is that a thing?
I haven't seen it, so I can't speak for it.
Well, because it was... generally criticized for only showing one side of the story, which was the side of the story of the 2 boys that claimed that they were abused by him.
Right, yeah.
So it was a partisan piece.
Yeah.
And because of the direction which it leaned, it swayed a lot of opinion because it didn't show...
So it's just a bit more and it's just collapsed.
Well, it only came from one side. It came from
So can you make them guilty after they're dead?
Well,
Jimmy
interestingly...
Savile.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because enough people testify. But interestingly, in France, you can... Because in the UK and the US, slander and libel and things don't apply to dead people. Right. So you can say whatever you want within reason and whatnot. But... Right. In France, that doesn't apply. So if you slander or libel someone, you can still be sued. So this French fan group are suing the makers of the documentary, and I think the two chaps involved. They only want the equivalent of €1 each as a symbolic thing, but they're suing them to say you've besmirched him and blah blah blah.
This is Michael Jackson.
Yes, yeah, because they're taking because they say he's innocent and he's not here to defend himself.
So who's getting sued though?
The producers of the documentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're suing the producers, so they're pro Michael. There is one of his big.
I mean, his kids aren't getting sued or something.
No, you wouldn't sue the children. That's not their. That's not their thing. And Paris Jackson has said that it's not for her to defend or apologise for her father. She's kind of.
She has spoken out against that particular documentary, though.
In what way? Oh, against it. Okay,
against it.
Yeah, and I don't know what the other because it's Prince Michael.
I don't even know what he's supposed to have done. Is he supposed
well, I mean, I think there's again, I haven't seen the documentary, but there was always the idea that he molested children allegedly.
Well, should we go? How we get these?
Because we love a good ramble. We love a good ramble. Anyway,
let's
say hello to Ria.
The Nazi thing.
Yes.
So what happened? It's a nice little story.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have kept saying Nazi. I should have said German.
Yeah.
So anyway, I accidentally just thought German Nazi, but it was the easiest thing to text, so I shouldn't have done that. I thought, like I said, Lederhosen or something, but it was a bit longer to text.
Yeah, or just
I just accidentally went, and that was my fault. But
most phones would autocorrect away from Nazi, but
you were kind of hoping,
German in,
because he's like everything's a Nazi.
But anyway. So on the way here, fella on a bike.
Yes.
Right. Firstly, I'm not wearing a bicycle helmet. If I'm getting on a bike, I'm not putting on a bicycle helmet. I'm not fucking digging.
You don't want to mess your hair up.
No, it just looks stupid. Invent them to look better. Nice. Like I'd sooner wear a motorbike helmet than put a bloody bike helmet on. I'd have less dignity with the. But anyway, fella on the bike. Nazi helmet on.
He had an actual Nazi helmet.
You know, the metal thing, and it's slightly longer at the back, like the German soldiers would wear, the dark metallic grey.
Yeah. Did it have the horn on top?
It didn't have
one.
But it had.
How did you know it wasn't a British soldier? Because they all.
No, they weren't the
helmets.
same. No, it's
No, they were. World
War II.
World War II was the hard one. Yeah, and World War One was.
But I just thought, because I'm hoping he wasn't an actual, he wasn't supporting the cause. But I just thought, oh, it made me laugh. I thought, yeah, I get that. You're sort of mocking it. It's like what you said with that fellow in the Nazi jacket you were talking about, or whatever.
Oh, with the German army.
Yeah, if you're a student and you went, I get it. You're being sort of ironically fashionable.
Well, it's just because they were cheap, because they were army surplus.
Yeah, but I just thought, oh, I like that. That made me laugh, made me chuckle. Yeah. Talking of laughter.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
I saw some videos of you, and it made me laugh. And then I saw a second, which never happens. And then I saw a second video of you, and it made me laugh. And I thought, right, that's what I got in contact.
And then you stopped while the going was good, right? Because it's that third one that lets everybody down.
No. Do you know when you put your stuff on the internet?
Yeah.
Doesn't that kill you? Your jokes, because now it's on the internet.
Well,
isn't surprise part of comedy?
You know what? That used to be the idea 20 years ago. If you were asked to do television, those jokes would burn. That's it. You could never do them again. Yeah. Because so many people would see it. When you only had 5 television channels and you were seen by so many people that you needed to refresh.
Right.
Now, of course, as an artist, you should always be refreshing, renewing, and rewriting. Nowadays, though, you'll find that people actually Google a lineup, even of unknowns. They'll go, I don't know who these 5 people are, but they'll Google them and go, yeah, okay, I'll come and see them.
And I suppose
so
only
you have
snippets.
to have something
of snippets, aren't they? So you're not seeing the whole
snippets,
thing.
but it's also, I put. So if it's a televised piece, and it ends up on the internet, I can't control it anyway because it was already out on the iPlayer or whatever, Comedy Central, whatever it was. But for myself, I tend to put stuff out there that I go, you are unlikely to see this.
Right.
If you come on a Friday night, you are unlikely to see this particular piece of work. The internet's great for pieces where the subtlety of it might be lost on a Friday night drunk crowd, but would be perfect for someone sitting in the office.
I mean, I think the songs work well as pre-records because you might miss a lyric, and then whereas if if you've got but also if you've got the noise of the crowd, then you can lose some of that. But
do you think if you watched a stand-up routine, right, and you thought it was funny, do you think if you just read the subtitles, would it still be funny, or is it the theatre?
I think it's
the person.
I would say it's probably on
depends
delivery.
on the person, though. So some people are entirely funny off the back of who they are and their persona and everything
and
else.
some people
but
just
some
stand
people
at a
write
mic.
jokes.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And if you write jokes, then in theory it'll work written down without the person.
So what about if I did stand-up? I had like sunglasses on with the eyes. Oh yeah, bloody. With the eyes.
Yeah.
Could you do comedy with the eyes?
There is a gig called Comedy in the Dark, where it's purely based on your voice, and so they put the entire room in blackout apart from the emergency lights. So the emergency exit lights.
Yeah.
And they do it that way. I am reliably informed blind people have a good sense of humor, so.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, I should have asked a blind person. Do you? Oh, of course they do. Oh, just negating my whole. Really, it just came full circle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for literal sight gags,
I've got to ask somebody.
Then you can't do slapstick. I think that would depend more on. Right. But then you also get what is.
But you had radio, like old radio, didn't you, when you had comedy shows?
Yeah, but then they're not doing slapstick jokes.
Radio 4 has tons of comedy on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you might get slapstick jokes, I suppose, in terms of sound effects, but in terms of someone getting hit in the face with a pie, that's not going to work on somebody who can't see it.
Right, so it would be written around the fact that.
Well, you might, but you also
I've
get
seen
audio
radio shows where they just explain to the audience what they're holding up. Oh, I'm just holding up a yellow dress right now, and the audience in the recording can see it, and people at home picture a yellow dress. I
don't know what question I answered there. Was there a question?
I don't think there was. I don't think there was a question or an answer.
Well, it's discussions. It's more discussions than.
So we have Ria here, who is a comedian. Now we had a mini debate about this because I just said for the title, I just said Ria Lina. Is it Lina?
It is.
It is Lina, right? As I was thinking more like, is it Lina? Anyway, about what should we subtitle this as? Because I just said comedian. And then there was discussion about should it be female comedian or should it comedian? Yeah, I've sometimes.
Right, I'm a bit late to the world, so really he's taking the buckshot for me. So I don't know what's the polite thing to say.
Polite comedian was dropped about 10, 15 years ago. I think
I still see it cropping up every once in a while,
but not politely.
Oh, is it not? Is it used as a? Oh,
really?
I mean, it's used to indicate gender, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a word that indicates gender.
Yeah. Because I was saying, well, you'd never say Russell Howard male comedian.
No.
You just say Russell Howard comedian.
Put female in there. You don't have to put that in there, but comedian.
Yeah, but again, I still see that every once in a while. It tends to be more like in old sort of print publications.
It depends on the field. Like actors and actresses are all actors.
They're
just actors.
But no, you've got best female have you got it still best female?
Yeah, we used to have gender categories within award ceremonies, but what I mean is that the move has been generally to say, why are you distinguishing it? We are all actors. That is our job. That is our role.
So you would say less awards and just get rid of the gender?
Fewer awards?
Yeah.
That is, I mean, now with the amount of trans awareness that we have, that's a much bigger conversation.
Yeah, because that's
to go, why do we only have best male, best female?
Because also you don't have best male writer, best female writer, best male.
No. I'm not talking about male, female. It's the inferences of en on the end of things.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nicer.
Do you think so?
Comedian, yeah, I think it's more empowerment. You know,
the problem is its connotations. The connotation is that we've had to make a different term from comedian so that you know that I'm what, less funny, different. Why? Funny is funny.
I think it just sounds nicer. I think that's why I like it. It's just a kiddie brain.
It's a softer sound.
Yeah, comedian. It sounds more.
It works the other way. Like in the States now, you have the term Latinx, which is to refer to all people of Hispanic
because it was
origin.
Latino and
it was Latino. Well, no. If you're male, you're Latino, and if you're female, you're Latina. But then women were saying, why are we collectively being referred to as Latinos as if we're a group of guys? So Latinx has come up to say the group in total because the women didn't want to be lumped in with the men. Whereas in acting, everyone's like, stop differentiating. Stop calling me an actress. Stop calling me a comedian. I'm a comedian.
Right.
An actor. There's no need to distinguish. For me personally, my gender is clear. I don't know that anyone's walked in and gone, hey.
Just chaos. You might have to shut them doors, brother.
Yeah.
So what is it now? So it's comedian.
Yeah, just comedian. But you weren't always. You were sort of. There's a doggy in here. Hey. For those listening, we had it because we share offices with a company that works in I don't know stuff.
Whatever.
Dog meat. We'll say dog meat.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's not.
No, that's not true.
Is that why I'm here?
Why would you?
You never see a guest twice.
Tasting? Are we doing no?
No. I've never eaten dog, actually. I don't know.
That's not where I was going with it, but it's interesting that you went there.
With what?
His first thought was, I'd eat you. Thanks.
So it's comedian.
Yeah.
No, it's comedian.
Comedian.
It's comedian.
Yeah, we're just going comedian.
For everybody.
We decided it would be more polite to drop stand-up comedian. And it's just
no, we didn't say stand-up. We didn't say that was polite. It was just more because you also do stuff on telly. And
so it's comedian.
Yeah. I mean, I think
you wouldn't have been
stand-up
offended.
comics, though, can do... Everyone kind of except stand-up comics end up doing everything.
Right.
I mean, Eddie Izzard, he's been in some very serious drama. You know,
Billy Connolly, didn't he?
No, I mean, so drama, from stand-up comedy, people tend, writing, directing, producing...
Right.
Film, they go to everything. So stand-up as a route is not an insult in any way, shape, or form.
But it's very rare. It's interesting that often stand-up comics...
But it is a very specific
subsection. It's a thing, isn't it, that stand-up comics seem to be able to go outwards and do more things, but it's very hard for someone... it seems very difficult. It's such a specialist thing that people don't tend to be like, I was a serious actor and now I'm a stand-up comedian. And so often you see people do that and then they bomb, don't they? I think even Stormy Daniels has turned her hand to...
Oh, the Trump chick.
Yeah, the Trump chick, is that?
That's all I know of. What else has she done?
She's a porn star, isn't she, I believe? Is that right?
Don't know which one.
No,
a porn star would be better.
No, she's what, sorry?
An orator.
An orator?
Orator. No. Let's not go there. Let's not take the easy.
She's done what's happening now with this pop culture of, with YouTube and internet fame is that someone like Stormy, yeah, not to be confused with Stormzy. Stormy is, she has gathered a following and everything else. So what I believe she's done is written what we would term like an Edinburgh show, a 1-hour show that is humorous in its telling and therefore is booking comedy club venues.
What?
Around the US.
Well, she wasn't a comedian.
Yeah, but if you look at the way that Edinburgh works, you will often go and see a 1-hour show from a celebrity that you know, and it will be entertaining and funny to watch, but you never knew them as a comedian, but you'd still go to their show. And I think
is that not rude to actual comedians? Do you not think, look at them coming along here?
I know that there's been argument about it on Twitter, about whether or not she should suddenly be one of the few female headliners that are playing in some clubs
because you're pushing
other
people
women
out.
aren't.
Yeah. Where do you fall on that?
It's a tricky balance because if she's selling tickets, you've got a comedy club that needs to sell tickets to stay alive. And if her being there 1 week means that it can survive another week to book somebody else.
Yeah, but before you know it, you got McDonald's signs up. Like, where do you stop selling your soul? I thought Edinburgh Fringe was for like the new, trendy people. If you're going to just stick a celebrity there, then stick a McDonald's in there as well.
Edinburgh, I remember when I went in 2003, that my next step was to do an hour. And I went, there's no point in me doing an hour when Jimmy Carr is selling out 800 seats a night. Yeah. That was in 03, 04. It's like, that's 800 people a day that were selling out Jimmy Carr. Yeah. And he was a celebrity at the time. He was going, and it's gotten even bigger. It hasn't shrunk since 2003. It's grown every year upon year.
But I thought it was for like up and coming talent. Is it not?
It was once Fringe, as it is called. It was Fringe, but
so now they've moved back in.
Very, very.
It's like Burning Man. You've basically got companies down there now. Just ruined the whole bloody atmosphere.
I think it's Burning Person.
Oh God, I forgot. Yeah. I've got to catch up. I've really got to catch up.
Is it actually Burning Person?
Or she just
that'd be amazing.
Oh, so I wouldn't have known. I would have been referring it to.
Shouldn't have told you.
But again, I
should have waited for the next time that you just went. I've been.
But I would say, if I was a comedian, I'd say no. It's for them. It's for people coming up. Don't take money at them. You're fine.
Yeah, I did. Because I've never been. It's one of those things you always think, I'll go next year. I'll go next year, and then you're dead. Oh
God, it happens to me all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You just like,
how many times have you died and I thought I could have done
that? But yeah, I assumed it was sort of a mix, but you're saying it's more.
Oh, it is a huge mix. Of course, there are people that go up there and are cutting their teeth in stand-up, in acting, in everything. I mean, it's a fabulous festival.
And are they getting paid?
Oh, you've just opened a big can of worms. No, one of the issues lately is that the only people losing out are the artists. And the punters are obviously expecting to pay to go there. They're paying for their accommodation, their food, and their tickets.
But they're paying to see Jimmy Carr. That's not free.
Ideally, among others, and you will meet the full range of audience members at the Fringe. You will meet those that go, you know what, I want to see what I can't see elsewhere. I want to see the unknowns. I'm going to go into the free Fringe. I'm going to walk into a venue and just say, tell me what's on, and see that show. Yeah. Then you've got people that go, I don't really want to take a risk. I don't have the money to risk it on somebody on an unknown. Right. Yeah. So you're going to get the full gamut. But the free Fringe is there now, and the free festival, and these are two organizations that provide a structure and a framework in which unknown comedians, but not necessarily not professional, but unknowns in the big scheme of things, can put on their shows for relatively cheaply, collect a bucket at the end, and in that way try and recoup some of their costs. But generally speaking, the artists are the ones that lose. And is it a
limited? Is it an official limited amount, or can you just, if there's room up in somebody's attic, you could do a comedy show there? Is like, do you have to apply for it?
Yeah, is there like a licensing or something?
I believe that then, please comment if I'm wrong, but I believe that the Fringe Society, you just register your venue with the Fringe. So you say, hi, I'd like to register this venue. Because we've had cabs have been registered as venues on the inside of a cardboard box, for very special performance art, things like that.
And do you perform at Edinburgh sort of every year?
I have done. I'm on a hiatus. I did 6 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
5 solo shows. And now I'm paying for it. So I'll go back when that's paid off. But so no, I'm not going back.
When is it? It's every year, is it?
It is every year in August in Edinburgh.
You've never been up there? I thought I'd see you up there.
No, I've been to Edinburgh a couple of times. Right. I've never been for the festival. Again, I've been to see. Yeah,
I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful place to go.
Yeah, I love the city. So yeah, again, like I said, I have genuinely always meant to go, and I'll go next year. Maybe next year I will go. Maybe that.
Have you so the I like details. So what was the day before you ever thought about doing comedy? Like what was that day that tripped over and you thought, did you see a special or somebody comedy special or
no? I was
somebody
at university.
Said
there was no
you were
funny.
Special. Oh, you're quite funny.
No. I was at St Andrews, which is very remote and
you always
cut off.
Something experimental pathology you studied.
I did.
Yeah.
Wow. Well remembered. Yes,
I
was doing a
IT or something.
Bachelor's in experimental pathology at St Andrews. Later, I did a master's in forensics.
Okay.
But at the time, so I was doing that, and I think it was called the Dead Parrot Society, is the comedy society of St Andrews.
Oh, okay.
And because we were so cut off, and this was before the internet, not before mobile phones, so there were people who didn't have their own computers, so they were having to go to the computer lab at 4 a.m. and type up their essays. Handwritten essays were still acceptable if you came from a community that didn't have computers, i.e. some of the more remote Highland Scottish villages. Yeah. These kids didn't know how to type or use a computer. They were allowed to handwrite. So I remember they came up to me in the street and said, we're going to put on a comedy night, because they'd put on, they'd done improv, they'd done plays, they do.
And was this within the town itself or just within the university?
It was, the venue was a wine bar in town, but it was a university of university students. Like the town gown divide at St Andrews, there was never going to be a local at that gig.
Yeah. Okay.
And we had our haunts. We had the bars that were student bars that survived on our money until the golf kicked in May. and they came up and they said, "Hey, we're going to do a comedy night. Do you want to do a slot?" And I was like,
but that's a strange thing to say. Had you done acting or any?
I was involved in drama. Yeah, no, I was. I was an Amdram child.
Yeah. But to say comedy, that suggests that they assumed you'd be funny, or does it not work like that? No.
Yeah, it was for anyone to give it a go.
Okay, so like true open mic, just turn up and.
No, it's a student event run for students by students. Like it's you're picturing a world you're picturing a very, like saying open mic. That is where the world is now.
Okay, right.
But we're talking years ago.
6 months ago. We're talking 6 months ago.
I just graduated.
But if somebody come up to you and said, "Oh, do you want to do a comedy night?" You go, "Well, I'm not a comedian."
Nobody was, though. That's the whole point. Nobody at St. Andrews is a comedian.
But
because they were the comedy society, so that was what they put on. The drama society would put on maybe a reading. The poetry society would put on a poetry reading.
And said,
they came to loads of people.
Okay, so
they didn't track me down in the street as a group and just go, "You will perform on our night." No,
by the pie vending machine.
It was just like anything else when you go around getting volunteers for something. Right. Hey, we're running a fete. Who wants to volunteer on the tombola?
I understand that, or something that's acting, but I thought comedy must be a specific. You've got to be funny.
We weren't press ganged into it. You could have said no.
I could have said no, and I'm quite sure many people did.
Right, okay.
Then there were a number of us that said yeah.
And how did you what was the first thing you did that had humour to it as a performer?
Okay, again, we're talking years ago. I can't remember. I did. So we did it one year, and then we did exactly the same event the next year. Yeah. And I was the only woman on both nights. And I don't remember which set was which. I know that in one of the two sets, I talked about how strange it was that the EU would control the shape of fruit, as you know. Well, not for much longer.
Yeah. Nope.
Bring back the bendy banana. Like I remember it was because bananas couldn't be too bendy. Strawberries can't have more than 2 or 3 points. You know how a strawberry can have 1 point or 2 points if it's square, but it can't have more than that. Uh-huh. Cucumbers can't be bendy. And then one of the other things I talked about was, and this is very specific to women, but often you would go into the women's at the time, and you'll have a row of stalls, and women will always look at least 2 or 3 stalls before picking one. It's not just, I'll just go into this one. Yeah. No. You got to go in. You got to look around.
Does the lock work?
Well, it's not even that. It's just what's the state of the toilet, because so often you sit down and find out too late there's no toilet paper. Yeah. But you check 2 or 3 stalls, and it was just, I remember the joke was, you're checking this one. That one's a bit dirty. That one's a bit dirty. The toilet seat's up. Every so often there's a stall in the women's where the toilet seat is up.
Yeah, never thought of that. Yeah.
Someone vomiting, maybe?
No, you'd want it down. No, would you not want it down?
I don't know.
It was just,
okay.
At the time it was totes hilarious.
So when did you start?
No, it is.
There's good reason
weird,
for it now.
Yeah.
When did you start to think about it? What, like the comedy thing, as seriously?
So I did those 2 events at uni, and then when I moved to London, I wanted to act. So I was always interested in acting. I'd done National Youth Theatre, and it became quickly apparent to me that as a Filipino with an American accent, that there were not that many castings available for my type. And having done comedy twice and it had gone quite well, I thought, actually, this might be a better way. Then you're known for you. Yeah. And people go, oh, let's get Ria in, rather than, where could we find a Filipino American? And so because those 2 had gone well, I was like, I'll give this a go.
What's your heritage?
So my mother's half Chinese.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Is she?
Yeah.
So you're only a quarter?
Yeah.
Wow. Strong in you.
Yeah, but everyone thinks like he's somewhere where there's hummus. That's where people always think I'm from. So.
Somewhere
where there's hummus.
I can see the Asian in you. Although I can't see the Irish, so you're going to have to explain that.
Well, half Irish and half Greek.
Greek. There we go.
There's the one. That's what,
somewhere where there is hummus.
Is hummus Greek? Is that Greek?
Is this going to be a Turkish Greek?
I don't like to bring up Greek and Turkish things.
There's going to be a
they've built a barrier between the 2 of them there.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you guys from? Turkey. Oh, wow.
There'll be a little soldier walking across there. Right, let's go.
And what is this table? Cyprus? What are we doing?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
This is getting heavy.
It's getting too soon now.
So what was your first proper comedy gig where you thought, this is a career thing?
So I moved to London after I graduated. So those 2 gigs. Then I moved to London, and someone I'd met at the Fringe. So my first Fringe was the summer I graduated. I'd written a play, and the university funded it for Edinburgh, and it went to Edinburgh. And someone came to the play and really liked it, and he said, "Oh, I live in London. come down to London, and I said, I'm doing stand-up. He'd already seen me in this play. And he said, I'm having a birthday party. Will you come and perform at my birthday party? And I went, yes. So this was my first, so it was a private gig, but it was my first playing to strangers gig. And the other two people on the bill was someone called Danny Buckler, who is still a friend today. He's a magician. He's like...
I was going to say, the name rings a bell, but I can't place... Maybe, anyway.
Yeah, no, he's popped up and about, and he's done various things on Channel 5. And he was a comedy magician when I first met him. Now he's a comic, very skilled in both areas. So he can separate them, but at the time he did them together.
Okay.
And he actually introduced me to my husband.
Oh, okay.
So he has a lot to answer for. And then...
How many people was it to, that party?
It was
10,
upstairs
50?
in a pub. No, I would have said about 25 people. So it was Danny Buckler, who I'm still friends with today, myself, and Steve Merchant were the three on that gig.
Oh, okay.
So that was my first public gig. And then that was October. And then in the November...
So Steve Merchant as in
Ricky Gervais.
Okay, fine. I've just never heard him called Steve. Is this a showbiz?
Steven.
Yeah, is this a showbiz thing like Bobby De Niro or something?
Steve,
mate.
So it was three of us. And then in November, actually, he was also at that gig as well because he was still gigging on the circuit.
Yeah.
He was very, very visible on the circuit at that point. And then in November, I'd convinced so I went to UCL. I moved to London, went to UCL to do my PhD. And and there was a gig running at my, at the, student union. And so I was like, yeah, I do stand up. And I convinced them to give me a little open spot. And he was headlining that gig. And then at the end of it, there was a woman there who said, hey, I run this club. You should come and do my new act competition. And from there, so you meet one person and then and then it goes from there.
I imagine there's probably a lot of instances where there's people sort of, I guess, talent spotters, scouts and things like that with comedians. Because it's not... in the way that film work, where you can watch a film and go, oh, who's that person? And 20 people, however many dozens of people and agents and whatnot, and they're receiving submissions. I suppose you have to go. Is that very common that there are?
That was, but again, it's not the same anymore. So whereas at the turn of the century, Time Out was the Bible for all of comedy. Okay. You go to Time Out, every single gig is listed. The telephone number to call for tickets, the telephone number to call for gigs. It's all there. Who's going to be on? The first time you're big enough on the bill to get listed in Time Out. Like,
right. So
I'm published. So from that point of view, I suppose if you went to a night and went, I wonder who was on, you could buy Time Out and go, oh, okay, those were the names. Okay. But now with social media, it's almost impossible to be hidden because every gig's going to advertise, every gig's going to tweet and Instagram and Facebook, like your entire calendar.
You can't film at a comedy club, can you?
No, not without
unless
told off.
You want somebody to film, you can.
Oh well, I can film myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it easier to do comedy to a smaller group or a big group where it just becomes a group rather than faces?
It's not as simple as that. You can have a wonderful gig to two people who want to be there. And in Edinburgh, I think we've all had that gig where... so often people will cancel...
I suppose what you're getting back... It's
exactly what you're getting back. You can play a corporate to 600 where they're sitting around round tables. Nobody knew you were coming. They don't really want you there.
They're just talking amongst themselves.
You're standing on a stage in a hired hall. They are across the dance floor. There's no connection. That can be horrendous. It can be absolutely horrendous. I mean, when it's down to, you can play a large corporate and do more, to hundreds of people and do more damage to your brand than playing to a room of 10 people who follow you on Twitter and then,
I went to a film screening once. It was a film I was involved in, but it was the quote-unquote premiere or something, like a big glitzy thing, but it was just the first time it was screened. And they had a stand-up comedian there, which I thought, like, oh, that's a novel thing. But I think no one kind of knew. No one said, oh, and as part of the celebration, that's probably more what it was. It was like, hey, we managed to pull this thing off for, 50 quid and we made a feature film. But no one knew he was there. I didn't know he was there. So I just happened to poke my head round, and you could see he was kind of making jokes about how badly the gig had gone because everyone was just there to get their, had come. Most people were turning up late in staggered groups. They weren't sitting; they were standing around. Obviously, everyone's going, "Oh, hey, I haven't seen you since we rapped, or I haven't seen you since the auditions." Everyone's trying to catch up and grabbing drinks and stuff, and he's just there So anyway, I was at this, and you just thought, "Oh no."
Has it ever crossed your mind?
What to do? What
uni comedy has ever popped up?
Uni comedy,
like when you've been at uni or something, has it ever popped up some society?
No, we did. I'm trying to think.
Where were you at uni?
I went to Sussex Uni, but I did do a media degree.
At Brighton.
Yeah. So just on the outskirts. Yeah. So I did a media degree, but we didn't do. We had to do a little bit of performing, in some of the practicing for like short films and stuff. So it was like, oh, this is you doing a bit. So you would have essentially take turns directing each other.
Okay.
So you would have to do performing them, but no, because I can't act. No. So
I could see you, a little comedian.
As a little
comedian. You've got the hair for it.
I've got the hair for a comedian,
and you're quite likable. So you got that sort of, you're a likable person.
Shall I dim the lights? What's going on here?
Do you need a room?
Yeah, I know.
I feel on the way.
Yeah.
I could see him presenting children's programs as well. He's just a nice bloke.
Right, fair enough.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? He's just got that thing of he's good.
You sound like an old woman. I mean, being introduced as your granddaughters. Oh, he's such a nice boy.
It's compliments here. Fuck's sake.
It's because we argue. Last week we had an argument, even though we were agreeing with each other.
What was that about?
That was about UFOs, about alien life. Sorry, you had to maybe.
The thing is,
what do you both agree then?
Well, we both agree. Basically, we got into an argument because I was saying that I wasn't 100% convinced that aliens have been to this planet, but I believe that there is somewhere out there alien life, and that was the thing. And we were chasing.
Saying they're out there, but that we haven't seen them. Well, if they're out there,
I'm saying we might have seen
them.
Yeah, we might have seen them.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Listen back to the UFO.
Because we might not be advanced enough.
They might be like, ugh, we don't want to bother.
This is my thing. There's 14. I'm telling them, there's 14 billion years. What have we done in 200 years? After 1,000 years, they're invisible.
Oh no, I shouldn't have done it.
You're undervaluing evolution. There.
No, I'm on the side of evolution. What I'm saying is, I don't want to follow human chronology, but I'm just saying, if you just look at what we've done,
a master's in it, or PhD.
If only one, if what we've done in the last couple, my point is, look, the amount of time that's in front of us, or backwards for the evolution to have happened, after a few hundred years, we can't even see them. So stop saying they're not there. It's irrelevant. You're an ape. You don't even know what's out there.
I know. I'm agreeing with you. But we got into a row, and then we were.
Was the fact of don't worry about if you've seen them or not. Just know that civilization has been around for that, and there's bloody miles of it. So it must be somewhere out there. And to say that in all the vastness, on top of the time that
I'm not getting brought into the traffic. I got
no, but my thing is, you agree
hole.
with me then? Yeah. It's not unreasonable to go, they're probably around us now, and you just can't see them. Yeah. And bloody scientists going, well, this takes this long to cover a distance. You go, what are you talking about? They're not covering distances. They've gone past that. But they're bloody idiots. Yeah. That's what I said. Scientists with a small s. They're not scientists. If you think like that, you're an idiot. You can't.
But you actually are a scientist per se. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not clear what your point. Who's they? Because you've just gone they for everybody.
The scientists are out there on the TVs, and they have to see things talking about there aren't aliens because it takes too long to travel. And you go, there's 14 billion years of evolution. You can't see them. If they don't want to be seen, they're not going to want to be seen. The problem.
Okay, so you think they're out there?
Yeah.
But so you're arguing against those that say...
Firstly, that they exist and that they visited here. It's two different arguments. So the first one is they have to exist because it's 14 billion years, and with the Atlantic space, that means they're not popping up on... they're not going to come down to the presidential...
So you're saying the chances that other life hasn't evolved is smaller than the chance that it has?
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's another argument of whether they visited us or not. Now, the problem, to always come back to say, I'm not trying to be funny. My problem with my own argument is if they are that advanced in the 14 billion years and all that, and they can do what they want and all that, why did you leave the bloody UFOs here? Why did you leave them here?
What UFOs?
The alleged UFOs.
Oh, so we did a documentary about the guy that come out recently who's been saying stuff since the 80s.
Right.
And now all the stuff that he was saying that he gave up on is now coming to light. And he's saying, basically, I've fucking been telling you, and I don't want to talk about it anymore because I've been telling you.
He's been vindicated on certain things. So, for example, he'd said at the time, they've got these, instead of doing,
Oh, you were going to have to send me this link.
Oh. Yeah.
Instead of watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Send me this link.
Send it.
Bob Lazar.
Yeah, but it was, for example, it was things like, they're saying, well, how'd they, and he said, they've got these scanners and they scan the bones in your hands because those are unique to you. Yeah. And everyone went, no, that's bollocks, that's science, nonsense. And then they've
come out,
shown that those do exist.
And I think he was talking about gravitational waves.
Wait, that hand scanners exist?
Yeah, these scanners that scan your bones.
As ID instead of our iris.
So in other words, he was saying that your hands are unique, and now we've proven that they are. Yeah. But also
that they also have these scanners to do that.
Well, in the documentary, he shows him a photograph, and he smiles and he goes, "Oh wow!" And he goes, So I was saying that.
But there was also
the gravitational wave thing he was talking about.
But the government did try to erase his existence.
Yeah, I mean,
The British government or the American?
US government, yeah, sorry.
Always the Americans.
I know, that's crafty. But you were born in Britain, is that right?
I was, High Wycombe.
High Wycombe.
Oh,
so what happened? Where did you go after that then? You went up north or you moved over?
No, we went to California.
Oh, okay.
Was that for work or what was?
Yes. So every move that we made when I was a kid was my parents' jobs.
Oh, I thought you were about to burst into some police there, but okay.
When I remember going to California, so I was dating somebody out there, and it's the only time in the whole 10 years of putting together the company that I nearly jacked it in and thought,
I'm going to be a surfer.
I could take the easy route here. And I nearly did, man. And I feel bad for even.
What was the easier route?
So I'm working as a bouncer at the time. Okay,
yeah.
There's no company. There's 5 people instead of 30. I'm struggling. Everyone's telling me you can't do anything. You don't know what you're talking about. You're on your own. I've been banging my head against the wall, telling them I've got to do it. And then I was out there, and then it's like it's fresh air. People. It's easier. You don't fight against everyone to want to do anything or get off your fucking arse and do something. And I was there for that first day, and I've worked at a bouncer 3 days before, getting punched and spat out blood and all that. And I'm there on the beach in Malibu, and a guy pulled up. It was there's like a cove, and I think it was a dry cleaners he went into, and it was a Bugatti Veyron car. And I looked at him, I thought, right, he's definitely in the media. I can see the way he's smiling and moving. And I thought, shall I say to him, look, this is me. I'm a piece of shit. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what it is. I'm in London. It's pissing in the wind. This is the first day in America. I kept off from coming to America because I thought I have to earn my right to be here. And I'm here for the first day, and you've pulled up in a £1 million car. Tell me whatever I need to do, and I will follow your word.
I don't know if you want to say that to a bloke with a lot of money.
No, I know. I wouldn't put it. But I just thought, listen, I've got nothing. This is
Tell me your secrets, and it was Tony Robbins.
Oh man, no. Do you know what? Of all the companies I've contacted, it showed up that 2 types of people didn't ever get back to me. Usually, because I was emailing thousands of people. One of them, so the 2 different industries. One was the etiquette industry. So that's nice.
That's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit ironic, yeah. So I've said about that and a couple of times. And I'd go back and email them as somebody else. And then they'd email me. Go, oh, so your etiquette is pick and fucking choose.
Who would you email back as, like?
Oh, just some
Count.
BBC, whatever.
Oh, okay.
And they'd go, oh, suddenly get an email back, even though I've emailed you 3 times politely.
I mean, that's mail fraud, I think.
Oh, I don't give a shit. I'll stand up for it on social principle.
Depends what B, B, and C stand for.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So either one would fail. And the other one was personal development. None of them ever got back to me. And I thought, oh, why? Because I'm telling the truth and you're full of shit. In fact, it was a couple of years ago that made me laugh. That everyone went to an Anthony Robbins, whatever they call them, and walked across the coals and all burnt their feet. And had to call the ambulance.
I've walked across hot coals.
Yeah, it's bollocks. It's a trick.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's a trick. You're lying. You're literally selling snake oil.
Well, but it's because you walk quick enough, you don't get burnt.
Yeah, and the heels you feel, and it's white. It's not the red hot coals. It's white. So the ash just comes up, and every time you put your foot down. So that's snake oil. So you're talking shit.
I've done glass as well. I don't know why I did
glass.
Yeah, well, you walk across broken glass.
Have you laid on a nail bed?
No, I've not done that. Have you?
No, but again, it's the same principle. You
Yeah,
fully
just
distribute
enough.
the weight.
Yeah, but it's a con. And my problem with the personal development is they're the poison like the spiritualists. They're the poison in the industry that keeps it shit.
Yeah.
And tricking people. It's why I put the whole thing together to prove a point, mate. I'm going to prove a point that it's all bollocks that's gone before.
Bring it all down.
I said that's what I'm doing. Burn the old wood, mate. It's all going to start again. There's nothing before. Right. It's just now. That's all that exists. Somebody said to me, "Oh, the personal development thing." I said, "No, I'm it. Whatever's gone before is bollocks."
And then year zero.
Yeah, it doesn't exist before, and I know because no one in the planet of Earth has ever tried to get sorted with it more than me because I had fuck all, and I spent years, so nobody's looked harder than me, and I'm telling you it's bollocks. So I thought, oh, I'm on my own here. So I've got to create the bloody thing.
Yeah.
Well, let's get off this topic anyway.
So are you...
How long have you 2 been married?
It feels like a long time, doesn't it? It feels like 20 years.
How long?
But so your PhD, does that make you a professor? Is that right?
Doctor,
okay.
not professor. Professor's a position within a university, so it's a job.
Okay, right, yeah, because I've never
and you would then graduate to that title as well.
So with your qualifications, I like to be quite utilitarian. If all else failed, like what would I call you for in an emergency? If you're just one of my mates, and what specifically could I ask you?
Are you paying?
A rash? Or
Are you paying me?
Yeah, no, we know each other long enough.
Yeah, not for my PhD. I specialized in herpes virus evolution. So
there you go. There you
no
go.
Friendship close enough for me to go, yeah, I'll come right over and look at that rash.
Something in an emergency.
Did you actually specialize in that? Yeah. In herpes virus?
Herpes virus bioinformatics.
And that was your degree, or that was your master's, or?
That was my PhD.
Oh,
that was my doctorate.
Why did you choose that out of all the things you could have chosen? Or does it choose you?
It kind of chooses you. So I was already in the world of viruses. My undergrad, Experimental Pathology, was with a focus on viruses, and in that degree, I worked with a lab at UCL that worked with herpes viruses and HIV and looking at, scientifically speaking, it made sense to have the two in the same lab, and because herpes virus can be used as a carrier of medicines into. Well, in theory, at the time, can be used as a carrier for medicines into cells that are missing genes because of the way that herpes viruses integrate into cells of their host. And so after doing the project with them, I said, I'm interested in doing a PhD. And the way that PhDs, especially in science, you have to attach yourself to funding. You can't just go, I'm going to study for 4 years. I'm going to read, Lewis Carroll and then write a dissertation on it. You need to have money. And so the funding, that was what the funding was for. Now, within the area, you can then kind of direct yourself, and with your advisor, you can forge a path. But I was very happy because viruses was always my love. Loved a virus from high school. I thought viruses were incredible. And after my biology degree, I realized, I'll go back a step. I come from my parents are in computing. So my dad's a logistician and my mother's a physicist and a computer programmer. So when I said, I'm going to study biology, that was pure and simply a rebellion against my physicist mother, who was just like, how dare you? You've let the family down.
That's the rebellion.
Yeah, that's the rebellion.
No,
I wanted to go to drama school. And she went, no, you're not going to drama school. And I went, okay, fine, I'm doing biology, which is just the worst insult to a physicist. Screw you, doing a soft science. So I went and did biology. She's like, you should be doing computers. And I went, no, I don't want to do computers. And then 2 years later I went, okay, you're right, I should be doing computers. So bioinformatics is computer analysis of...
Right, see.
So it was a way of not losing ground because I'd already done an entire degree in biology, so it was combining the two. So it gave me the computer skills as well. Then after that, I did the master's in forensics, and from there went into IT forensics. So I kind of steered, I kind of moved diagonally into computing. And my sister's in computing, my mom was in computing. My dad was into logistics, but by hand, because he doesn't like computers, despite working for a computer company. But it was all in the family. So that was why I ended up doing it. So it was perfect for me because it meant I was gaining those computer skills without losing the biology.
And so you worked in forensic IT, is that right?
After the master's, though. So after the PhD, then I went and did a master's in forensics, which was a general degree. And again, at the end of that, you can end up specializing. I actually ended up working for City of London Police at the end of the master's, helping them assess their forensic equipment and the way that they were recording and storing information from crime scenes, and then off the back of that got recommended to the Serious Fraud Office.
And so you'd be dealing with where someone's, I don't know, hiding, stealing information, or would it be hiding or financial fraud?
Well, I worked for the Serious Fraud Office. So the Serious Fraud Office deals with complex and expensive fraud. So it's, at the time it was over $1 million. They might have raised that threshold by now. But is anything that involved, if it's a simple pyramid scheme or it's somebody calling up and bamboozling old people into giving them their savings, and that might be dealt with by the local constabulary. And serious fraud would be something that might be international, or the BAE case was one that the SFO was on. And you'll see them crop up every so often in the news as to whether or not they're going to mount a case against something that's high end.
So are you on their books, so to speak, still the police, or you're not?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I left that.
For
comedy, actually. I left it for comedy.
Oh, okay.
So how long did you do that for? Or was that kind of...
Only 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and sort of were you kind of moonlighting? Maybe, I don't know if that's the right word.
I was mooning.
Mooning.
All
You're just
over
mooning
the place.
constantly.
Like, this is not appropriate.
Yeah, that's not how it works here. But you were moonlighting as a...
I was like, well, if I can hide it up there, then maybe they're hiding it up there.
You were just waiting to be proved right, like the guy, like Bob Lazar. So you were doing comedy work whilst that was happening, or like
so in between all of the degrees were children. So I think I had a child per degree, roughly a child per degree. No, I had a child per PhD, child per master's, and then had a child at the end of.
So you nicknamed them after like something you did.
Yes, exactly that. Yes.
You've got a child named herpes virus and one called IT fraud.
The last one's called Matt, which is short for maternity leave. That's how it goes. No, I just happen to like to
Does any of that make it into your comedy?
The forensics?
Yeah.
No.
Surely that's very specific to you. Sure, that's like a weapon that you could wield.
If I do a corporate for anything that's even vaguely in that area, computing or technology or whatever, then that's very useful to me, because then I understand what the business is doing. I can, understand how to work that into the show for them to make it specific for them. But generally, no, because
really,
it's
with
very
all
dry
your knowledge,
work.
yeah, there's no humour.
Very
you can't
dry
pull
work.
anything out.
Oh well, I was taking an image of a computer the other day when I noticed on one of the spreadsheets that there was an anomaly in column K. So I went and checked the sums, and the checksum said.
I wonder if you could look at Trump like a virus, can't you? Just the way it goes around and how often quickly it spreads. And no, you're not coming with me. What's the difference between a vaccine?
More people are familiar with computer viruses than even the distinction between disease, virus, and bacteria. So they'll go, "Oh, I have a flu. I need some antibiotics." Yeah. You're going, no. Yeah, not how it works.
And that's why everyone's getting. That's why all the bacteria is all the
winning. It's winning. It's super bacteria.
But then GPs are going, well, we're getting screamed at by these people demanding that we give them, antibiotics, and so we're just giving it to them to get rid of them.
The Chimaranya, the rapper, hip hop guy, that's the doctor. Did I do the show with you?
No, you didn't.
Oh, I'm in contact with
that
him.
hurts. I know.
Yeah, he's a hip hop artist. He's a GP.
I'll do the show with you.
Yeah, we'll do our own one. There you go.
Weren't you off the other week?
Yeah, I was off the other week.
Who did me and Charles talk to?
I don't know. I wasn't there. Oh no, you talked with John Higgins, our film critic.
Oh, the film critic.
I wasn't even here, and I remember.
Listen, mate, I've told you you're punch drunk. It's a disability. You shouldn't be mocking me. I'm actually quite offended.
Yeah. You're not. Yeah, look at that. You broke immediately.
In a couple of minutes.
You'll forget that you're offended anyway.
So you can't be called up by the police to say, look, there's a thing here. Like the films,
no.
The UFOs landed, we need something. You get a phone call on the way to the shops and say, we need you back.
No, because
my grandfather had that, because my grandfather's is my grandmother that's Chinese, but how he met my mother was he was basically stationed out in the Far East during the war. Stayed
China?
on. Yeah,
I'm assuming China.
Yeah. But I mean,
he wasn't in Thailand. I want that one Chinese.
I want that one Chinese ticket. But he was in the Royal RMP, so he would have been stationed wherever they needed him, but in the Far East, whatever the army would have been called, I guess, though. But then probably something like the East Asian Expeditionary Force or something, dry like that. Anyway, he just stayed on there, joined the Hong Kong Constabulary. And so...
So was he fluent in Chinese?
Yeah, he was. So when they all moved back over here, my mum didn't speak a word of English because he just spoke Chinese all the time.
Wow.
So she had to learn. She had to go from, I think she was 6 or 7, and she had to learn from having never heard any English to then having to very quickly learn English, so much so it kind of shunted the Chinese out of her brain.
Right, yeah.
So she can understand it when it's spoken slowly, and she can speak, but she has to really, really draw it out because it's just been filed away somewhere. She was just
What, her parents never spoke Chinese to her again once they moved?
They did a little, but not much, because again, my grandmother, she was like, well, there's not many... I mean, we lived in Brighton, so there was a lot of Chinese, but she would just speak Chinese to Chinese people and English to her, because they wanted her to learn quickly again.
There's a lot of Chinese people in Brighton, isn't
there? I don't know what the case is anymore, but for a long time, it was after London, it had the highest concentration.
You must do a lot of comedy in Brighton. Is that, you got that sort of
I don't actually go down there much. No? I mean, I've gigged many times there over the years, but there's one main club, the Comedia.
Yeah.
And then the rest, it's actually, there's a huge divide. I think Comedia is like the top club. And then it's a lot of...
What's it called? Comedia?
Comedia with a K.
Yeah. Oh, I thought they were going for the comedian thing.
No, you're just clinging onto that like your rose on that door.
No, it's comedian. That's it now.
Yeah, comedian.
Yeah, we're done.
That's
it. Do you do comedy everywhere now? So you've got dates coming up. Do you do, or do you just have a home base as a comedian?
Well, I'm based in London, but
I mean a club.
No, you don't do that. They don't have that here now.
Oh, but they've got the comedy club, or what's it? The comedy store.
Yeah, but they don't have like home comics. They book people on the circuit.
Oh,
there's no comic that can play there that says, "Oh, I play here 10 times a year and everyone else is playing once."
Oh, I thought they did have regular in-house comedians. No.
No.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that bit of information.
I mean, they don't book everybody. It's not like stand in line and everyone eventually will play.
No, I thought they had regular people in there every night. That was their people.
No, they have quite very varied nights, and they'll have special nights. These are comedians come over from South Africa, and they'll do some random nights like that.
No, they book a wide enough range of comics that I don't think any comic could say they play there more than maybe two times, maybe 3 times a year. Like that would be the most.
Who do you admire as a comedians? Yeah, who do you admire? Because as a woman, you haven't really got that length to fall back on. You're the sort of vanguard this generation.
Yeah, but why does it matter that I'm a woman?
No, but I thought you tend to sort of go for people that are to be inspired by people that are like you.
No. Who said that?
No, of course.
Who said that?
Well, generally in life. No?
No.
Well,
you're inspired by people that are good.
No.
Yeah. No, you're inspired by people that are good at what they do.
No, I don't think that's true. I know enough people that have got into things because there was a black guy before.
So who's your favorite Greek-Irish podcaster?
No, but I am the vanguard. I know that. I'm on my own here, mate. I'm on my own. I said on day one.
I can tell you as a Filipino-German comedian, so am I.
Yeah, but no, it's actually just the other day somebody was saying, why did you get involved in that? I said, because so-and-so, there was an American football player. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, no, it's just a small sample size of about 3 people.
Yeah, I'm like a 3/4 Caucasian heterosexual, so I'm like, who's your forebear?
No, but you haven't done something specific.
Did you say you're a 3/4 Caucasian heterosexual?
Yeah.
So one of your 4 grandparents is gay?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Actually,
you didn't have to throw that in there.
But you know what I mean? As in, I don't have any kind of...
but if you were like a world heavyweight boxing champion, something very specific, and they said, why did you get involved? Who did you put up on your wall as posters?
One of my grandparents could have been gay, I don't know.
In those days, it's possible they didn't feel comfortable coming out. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like, obviously, children look up, and it's really important for children to be able to see
but
role
being female
models.
in 20 years, it's not going to matter who they look back on because everyone will be the same. But you being that sort of under 40, 50 sort of people.
Comedy works like comedians are insanely competitive because, of course, laughter is measurable. So you can have more of it. It can be louder. It can be longer. It can be the most. You can have applause breaks. Like, there are levels that you can achieve
and
just
it can
within
also
one
permeate
gig.
the popular culture and become, it can be a catchphrase almost.
Yeah, but why be that? Because it's not a limited supply. So why would they be that way?
Why would you want to be the funniest?
Yeah, but how do you judge the
funniest? Quite a few comedians make fun of other comedians' acts.
Like, if you go to open mics, right, you'll often see that an open micer will go on and then stick around the rest of the night. And that's not just them going, I'm here to support my fellow open micers. Yeah. That's them going, who was the funniest tonight?
Really?
Did I win this gig?
I thought if they laugh.
Not to heckle, but just to go, how well did I do? Because that's how you get better. If you don't actually compare, if you don't actually look at the job you did.
If they laugh, then you were funny.
But if they didn't laugh as much at you as they did at somebody else, you have room for improvement. Of course you do, because... Of course you do. Otherwise, you don't get better.
And it goes to a round of applause.
But I also do find after when I've been to comedy gigs where there's quite a few people on the bill, you quite often go, the first one was my favourite. The second one was my, and there is a bit of that with it because it's not like.
And you want to be everybody's favourite.
Yeah,
when you do a gig, you want everyone to walk out and go, "Oh my God, that girl was incredible." And I have an advantage by being usually the only woman on the bill, or at least the only woman of color. Like I've got. Yeah. Advantages to being remembered.
Comedians would be going, look, they got more laughs than me. Like that's insane.
Yeah. Comedians will tell you about playing to 400 people and those 2 didn't laugh and those are the only 2 they cared about. 398 pissing themselves. Those 2, like what's wrong with your face? Like why are you here?
I remember picking up, thinking, something wrong with my brain here. Like I was picking up, there was a blue carpet and I was picking up these I had white socks and I was picking up the white fluff and I thought, I've got to stop doing this because every time I pick one up, all I'm doing is noticing the other ones. Yeah. And I'm picking them up and then
you always notice the 2 people that didn't do whatever. That's what you remember.
Do you go to comedy clubs much?
Not as much as I would like to.
Have you been?
Yeah. I mean, the last one I went to, it was we went to it was part of a stag do. It was one I told you about.
You didn't ruin this show or anything, did you?
No, we were quite well behaved. Well, the stag, I mean, it was quite civilised because the stag, he's got... He doesn't drink a lot, because he runs a lot, but because
the one that got divorced. You said it was...
No.
Ooh.
No.
You heard it here first, folks.
I know, yeah. By the way, this is we thought the most appropriate way to let you know that your husband's leaving you.
It was a weird party you said you went to.
No, I went to a stag do years ago, and it was in a bar that was kind of designed for, it wasn't like it wasn't a strip club, it was just like a German beer hall place, but they were like one place that stag do's seemed to go to. But there was one group who were there celebrating his divorce having been finalised, and that was a bit odd. I mean, they were more commiserating. They were, he didn't want to, he didn't particularly, he wasn't there cheering. It was more his mates going, he's getting divorced, and he was just sort of like, Thanks.
Any excuse for a party now. That's the bloody thing.
Exactly.
Nothing to do.
Too much having joy and eating sweets.
Bought a pair of new
life.
shoes. Oh, let's have a party.
But yeah, the last time I went to, I think it was at the is it the Comedy Store? Yeah, the one with the it's got the logo that's the sticky out. Is it the smiley mouth? Is the
Comedy Store in
Piccadilly?
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was having a brain fart there, and that was where there was a drunk group of guys, and they were heckling, not too much, but they were being a bit leery.
No way.
But then they started being, I've forgotten his name now. And I saw him on another show recently. He's a Muslim guy. I can't remember his background.
Imran Yusuf. Tall and skinny?
No, kind of short. He's got a beard. He wears, I kind of like, he quite often wears, I think, I don't know what it's called.
Burqa.
No. I don't know what it's called. It's like a
beard and a burqa. That's the new look.
It's some sort of wrap around it. I don't know if that's
then
part
he
of
wouldn't be Muslim.
I don't know
what it.
I can't remember his name now. But he makes jokes about the fact is, being a Muslim, and everyone's always like, tricky about it. I've forgotten his name now. He does a lot of TV.
Right.
Completely. Anyway, but he was getting heckled by these guys, and like it was just like, fuck off, you're not funny.
Yeah.
Like sometimes hecklers can be funny and they can be part of the act, but. And initially, they were having the piss taken out of them by the other comedians because they were quite often just shouting out drunken nonsense. Yeah. But then once it was him, they started saying like racist stuff and Islamophobic stuff, and eventually everyone just started booing them. But it was just like, what a prick. That actually only had one female comedian in that whole thing. There were four.
They're not doing it. They're just putting one female on.
Well, actually,
cover their bases. Sort of.
Well, actually, she was. They do. I didn't know this, but they do. Apparently, they do. Semi-regularly, you'll probably know this more than I will, but where they let someone come out and sort of do a very short practice set, like 5 minutes. They don't get paid for it, but it's just for a new.
Well, the Comedy Store is really good at having what we call progression.
Yeah.
So your first start would be to be awarded a 5 minute, and then if you do well in the 5, you'll get a 10. If you do well in the 10, then you might be invited back. Often, if you're fairly new, they'll want to see a few 10s to make sure you're consistent.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get a 20 on one day, and then from there you get a full week.
Yeah.
And would that comedy club do open mics, or is it too risky for them money-wise?
They do once a month. The Comedy Store does the Gong Show, which is, it's not an open mic. It's a different beast altogether, but it's where you come on, you try and beat the gong, as in you try and come on and last for 5 minutes without the audience gonging you off. Yeah. But, but the rule, it's not a meritocracy. Right. Like, you can be incredibly funny, but if the 3 people before you all got to 5 minutes, the audience are going to get a bit like, we're being too nice here, and they'll gong you off before you've had a chance. So it's a, dare I say, game show. It's like a gladiator style game show. So they have that, but that allows them to see in one night maybe 20 newer acts that otherwise, because you've only got 52 weeks a year, so there's only 52 5-minute sets, maybe 100 if you do 2 in one night. What's the
worst gig you've ever done? Is there one that stands out?
Well, I certainly did a corporate, sort of like what I was describing, is that it was, and luckily I wasn't alone, so there were 2 of us booked to do it, and for the fee, we were not expecting the opulence that we walked into. I mean, this was black tie. It was this massive hotel space. And they had their own awards with these 6-foot-tall gold statues on stage that looked like Oscars and all the lights. And it was a boss of some kind of car or mechanics company. So it was about 300 people there. Open bar. And then they all got hotel rooms, and then they had breakfast the next morning. So, it was a proper all-night thing. We were on something, and this was the company completely bamboozled the booker and just went, look, it's just a small awards thing. We just want
right.
So we were on, for the money, we should have been on triple, if not 4 times what we were on.
Is there, without being sort of too gross, is there kind of because obviously with... generally with TV and things, it's like, you get 350 quid per day minimum. That would be an absolute minimum, like equity minimum. Is there something that...
Well, they just offer an amount?
No, we've been actually... You've totally... in equity, we've been trying to... You're not allowed to set prices. Basically, you cannot. That is something that Thatcher got rid of in the 80s. It's called... It's considered cartel behavior to set prices. So we cannot, in comedy, go... You should be paying minimum this much for 20. It's not allowed to happen. What happens with things like television and with theaters is that enough companies that control the work can get together and come up with an agreement with equity. They're like, we will pay at least this much. And then you get this term equity minimum. But comedy is you've got one promoter there, one promoter there. You've got this one-off corporate from a company that otherwise doesn't need comedians. It's too disparate, and it's been, we haven't been able to get enough people into the room to be able to say, shall we have... And you can't, because one comedy club only has room for 30 people above a pub, and they sell tickets on a Monday for $5. Yeah. And you've got another comedy club that seats 400 people on a Friday. So it's not comparable.
This one didn't go well, no?
Well, this one... So we walked in and we went, wow, this is not what we thought it was. But it was that classic thing of agent. You've got the stage, you've got the DJ guy off to the side. As so often happens when we say we need a PA for comedy, your PA has to be able to handle speech. And DJ decks are often secondhand. They've had the bass blasted through them, and they can't handle shit.
Yeah.
So the microphone cable only goes 3 meters because the guy only ever stands at the decks anyway. Okay, shout if you want to go faster. So we have to go up on stage, and there's this huge dance floor between us and the first round table.
Oh no!
And so often happens. It's somebody in HR that goes, or in events or whatever, whoever it is in a company that decides these things. Like, oh, let's get a comedian. It'll be fun. And everyone else is going, what? Nobody knows. Oh, we'll make it a surprise. There's nothing worse than walking into a corporate and they're going, we haven't told anyone you're here. You're their surprise. And I'm going, they're hoping for a stripper.
Yeah.
And I am
or
a
massive
disappointment. Yeah. When you say, ooh, you've got a surprise, they're half hoping it's someone off Love Island that's dropped in to do selfies, and you're going to give them me.
They get to pelt the boss.
That's just not anything other than, oh, you got a comedian. Because then again, when you say comedian, no one's going, oh, I hope she's small and Asian with an American accent and a ukulele.
Let's just go into somebody they've seen on the BBC.
They might do. That's a very...
because what's happened is that one person in the office has put a tender out. They've gone to some corporate bookers. The corporate bookers have sent in videos, and then maybe two people in the office have watched the videos and gone, oh, we all like that one. Right? And sometimes I win that gig, and sometimes somebody else does. So we walked into this one, and the boss introduces the other comic I was with as something like, hey, so we've got some comics for you. Let's hope they're funny.
Oh, that's a nice intro.
See you at the bar.
That warms the crowd
up. It's not going to work at all. So I don't know why they booked us. And it was incredibly... I felt sorry. I have music, so at least I can just sing and people can pretend, can they just go, oh, she just finished a song. Oh, well done. Yeah. At least I can force rounds of applause and we can get through it. Whereas the other guy, just 20 minutes of talking, and he's there trying to warm him up. You can't reach him. You can't even physically go to them because you're tethered to this stage. I was able to... I stood on a chair on the dance floor just to try and get a little bit closer.
Yeah, that seems... Yeah, the fact that they had the dance floor, like...
Well, that's again, if you think about planning an entire night for they're going to sit and eat dinner. There's going to be some speeches. There's going to be all these awards that we had to sit through, and then they're going to want to dance straight away. There's no one there to clean up the tables, roll them out of the way. Think about any wedding.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
you don't eat on the dance floor. You have the dance floor ready, but then the stage is at the back of it.
And what happened? It just sort of didn't.
Oh, it's just awful.
Yeah.
So we just left.
Do you always see it through to the end? Have you ever just gone, no?
Well, it's a contractual obligation, though, especially with corporate work. You've got to be very careful. If they've contracted you for 20 or 30 minutes, if you don't do that, they could say, we asked for 30 minutes and you gave us 19. We're not paying you.
And have you ever had,
as simple as that.
Have you ever had sort of really nasty heckling where it's been a bit challenging? I think every comedian has faced heckling.
I do not know how they put up with that. If I started
at
that'd be it.
At the Comedy Store, you could see he was really starting to lose his...
Throw them out.
He actually said, "You're testing my patience now."
If I was in charge of the club,
they did get chucked out.
They did get chucked out. Yeah, they would have gone.
Not during the app. He said, "Don't worry, lads, you're getting chucked out once I'm done anyway."
But I've said this before. That shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
the same in the cinema. Same rules apply, mate. I'm sitting in the audience. Shut up.
Well, sometimes heckling, usually heckling is kind of fun.
No, you open the door.
No, but because people just say something's drunk.
It's a bit weird to heckle at a movie because they can't answer back.
Yeah, exactly. That would be weird, though, wouldn't it?
No, it's the same person. I'd just say, to me, it would be the same rules, mate. This is a
He's behind you.
This is a non-heckling club. You open your gob, you're getting chucked out.
Yeah. But I mean, I think part of it, though, is I think some comedians do because they single out, go, oh, you've got a funny haircut, or you've got this, or you look like that. There is a lot of that going on in comedy clubs. I think then you're...
Is there? That's awful comedy.
I mean, not
if
like
that's what you're relying on. Quit now.
This is why, when you said, "Oh, do you do stand-up?" No, because I'd be like, "Oh, look at his hair." But there was lots of jokes about "Oh, where are you from?" and all this kind of stuff, and asking people that kind of thing. So there is, because you open up the door, because you're saying, "Oh, well, we're going to interact now."
But again, in that night, that door would have been opened by the MC.
Yeah.
Not by the acts.
Yeah. Yeah, the MC. Yeah,
the MC that does the talking, not the acts themselves. The acts are there to tell you 20 minutes of jokes, and the MC is there to warm everybody up, find out who's in the room, sort it all out.
Yeah, but it was a shame because everyone else was having a great, and most people kind of took their, like, there was a great big muscly guy from the army, and he said, I can't remember, they obviously don't test you for drugs or something like that, for steroids or something like that. I can't remember. He said, like, you're allowed to drink if you're in the army.
Yeah, I understand there's little positive.
So there were little jokes like that, and he was taking his, because he kept coming back to him because he was, he was in the front row, and I think because he was laughing along, and then there was some other cruder jokes about him and his girlfriend and what that, because she was a very small petite lady. He was a huge
that's
guy.
Again, that's something that you know how far to go.
Yeah.
Well, at that professional level of that.
Yeah.
Of the comedy
but I think
they know where to go. You know
really
when to stop.
Along,
yeah, exactly. You don't keep going if they're about to cry, and you don't talk to. Like, you can tell who wants to be spoken
but the
to,
problem
who doesn't
is,
want
you
to be
can't tell
spoken
them how far to go.
But I mean, the thing.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's always but these guys were, they were just saying, I can't remember. It was just.
But that was a group of drunk. That's different. That's a different thing. That was a group of drunk guys who probably have never really been to comedy before, because anyone who's been to comedy knows exactly what you're saying. That the etiquette. So one of the comprehensions? No, the misunderstandings about what comedy is people often think that comedy is heckling. Is that the whole point is to stand there and to test the mettle of the person on the stage. And that's not what it is at all. Jesus. And people who go a lot no, you sit there. If they ask you a question, they're, if you sit near the front, you'll probably be spoken to. Sit at the back if you don't want to be, and enjoy the art form that's on stage. So anyone that is going in there going, I was helping, you're like, you don't.
But I put it as the same thing as cinema. Don't talk.
Yeah. Do you think it also comes down to that competitive element of, they're funny, this guy on stage, he's saying something, or girl, sorry, that was very sexist of me, but they're saying something on stage and it's funny, so I'm going to say something that's even funnier than them, and I'm going to get the laugh. But that's the ego, isn't it?
Actually, that happens in corporates.
Yeah.
More often than you would think, is that when you are in a room, if you're doing a corporate, and you're supposed to just be doing your comedy, but you're in a room full of people who know each other.
Yeah.
And one of the ways to break the ice is to go, I've heard about you, Dave. You ask about it, who's the office joker? Dave, right? Okay, I've heard about you, Dave. But in that situation where they feel confident because of their peers,
they're showing off.
That's where they're going to do that reaction more than in the audience. You rarely get someone trying to one up the comedian unless the door's been opened by an existing conversation, or is what you're talking about. There's a group of drunk guys that want the attention, or women, or just a group of people that want the attention, that are there going, we'll sit in the front. It'll be really fun.
Yeah, these guys were just arseholes there, but because they weren't near the front, no one was looking out for them, because there was some jokes about the fact that there were sort of a middle-aged couple there in the front, but then their kids had sat over. He was joking because he said, who are you here with? Your husband and our kids? And they said, I didn't see your kids. Where are your kids? Are they off somewhere else? Things like that. They were like, no, they're here, and they're just over the back. And obviously that opened the door for him to make. But these guys were off in the dark, 5-6 rows back, just being pricks.
Yeah.
So who do you admire then from comedy?
Oh, you know what? I've been asked this question so many times, and because
it'll always say something about you. Yeah. Oh, really? So he's not like a bank of people.
No, because I think that generally that anyone sort of above you in the hierarchy has something to be learned from.
Right.
Because so comedy, much like the PhD, sort of it's an academic pursuit, and it's a passion, but it is an academic pursuit. And if you get two comedians in a room, they will dissect a joke, they will dissect a gig, they can dissect anything to death.
Yeah.
And even just down to the wording. I've had many wonderful arguments with Adam Bloom. Actually, Friday, I had an argument with Adam Bloom. We were in the car together about the difference between so I was gigging in Dubai, and I'm Filipino, and I said that I get on stage and I said, something along the lines of, it's great to be here. I just finished cleaning my last room at 6. Right? And he said, I don't like that. And I said, well,
who said that?
The comic I was with.
Right, yeah.
Wonderful man. Very, very
Adam
brainy. Adam Bloom. Yeah.
The name rings a bell, but remind what would...
Well, he's at his own Radio 4 show. And he's a successful comedian, very good comedian, but very cerebral in terms. So we'll often get into the nitty gritty of a joke. So I say it like that. I said, I'm not comfortable with that. Like if you got on stage and said, I know what some of you are thinking. You saw me at the back of the room and went, I bet she's here to clean the rooms. Yeah. And I went, no, I don't like that. I mean, it's fundamentally the same joke.
It's quite accusatory.
Well, that's what I said. No, I feel like the first way I'm owning it I'm reclaiming it as a concept. And the second one, I'm saying, shame on you for thinking that. And he said, no, I don't think anyone's sitting there going, wow, I don't like her now. She accused me of thinking this. So just two different presentations of exactly the same concept had us arguing it out as to which one's better.
But did you get a big laugh for the joke?
Well, I did it the way I did. Yes. Yeah, you can go on my Instagram. It's on there.
Yeah.
I got a big
so
laugh.
You win.
I did, but we don't know because I've never done it the other way.
Right,
so
And have you ever considered that? Would you go, I'm assuming it's not like every time you do an act, it's the same. But say if you were doing a second night in Dubai, would you then go, maybe I'll try the other way?
It must still be a filtering off process to get to...
So that's a throwaway line that you use. It probably came up 4 out of 5 nights in different ways. And sometimes it didn't get mentioned, or I might have referenced some other aspect of Filipinos in Dubai. It was a throwaway. If you're working on a joke, then yes, you will go and then go, okay, so it worked kind of that way. But it didn't work very well. So let me try it this way. Okay, let's see if it works. That's when you're workshopping, and that's where you will represent it in different ways.
In fact, how does the process work? Because obviously I'm assuming it would start with you going, right, I've got let's say a tour coming up, or you're going to be doing the circuit for the next couple of months. You want to try out some new material. How does that work in terms of, are you at home practicing doing jokes yourself?
No, you go to a new material night.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are nights specifically. So there is a difference between new material nights and open mic. Open mic is for new comics coming in. Now all that material in theory is new because they themselves are new. Yeah. But then their material is new, their personas are new, their voices are new, their stage craft is still being, developed. That's open mic. Now I can ask an open mic, can I grab a new material spot, which means that I am an established comedian who needs to try out some new jokes.
Oh, okay. And
that usually is not hard to come by, because if you have an open mic night, it's lovely to have someone pop in that you can trust, that if it's not going so well, they'll go into something that works, and that that's a fairly reliable 10 minutes that you're going to put on your stage.
Yeah.
Then you've got new material nights, which tend to be in more established clubs or run by more established promoters who go, this is for established comedians to try new jokes. And it is a different feel. It's a different contract with the audience, because what you're saying is all of these people know what they're doing, but they need to say things out loud that they've never said before. So some of it might be quite complex ideas. It might not work. It might come out offensive, but they didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
Do you go to watch comedy at all?
Do I go to watch comedy on a night off? It depends.
Like, is there any big comedian you'd go to pay to see?
Probably if I'm terrible at finding out. I'll find out like a comedian's over from the States too late. Oh, okay. Or I'll find out about a show that I would have gone to see, but I didn't find out in time, or they've sold out already. I'm like, I've always tried to go to Edinburgh since I've stopped going to Edinburgh. Every year since, I've tried to go up for a couple of days and just see stuff, because it is really important to see what you're doing. Last year I went up and just went to see women because we don't get booked together that frequently. I was like, I just want to see what all the other women are doing out there.
Because it's one of those weird things you don't think about until it gets brought up. As I say, like the Comedy Store, and there were 4 acts plus the MC, and then there was the female comedian.
You mean the tryout spot?
Yeah, it was
who happened to be female.
But it was only when she popped up and you went, oh, there is a woman on this. It's only then that you notice, oh yeah, they've all been guys. Yeah. It's like when they talked about panel shows and the UK trying to make sure, the BBC have sort of said, we're always going to have at least one female on either in the chair as the host or on the seat.
On the panel.
Yeah, on the panel, yeah.
Out of 5, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
We're like...
when the BBC struggles to find women, you're in trouble.
Well, because this is... I mean, they asked... so, for example, Mock the Week seems to have made quite a big difference. That does seem to be the case.
It changes the tone.
Yeah, massively.
But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
No, I quite like it. I mean, because I think... Because that is one... Because it went for a phase... It started off being like a slightly ruder version of I Got News For You. Then it kind of became quite laddie, I would say.
Yes.
Maybe that's not unkind. And you sort of saw that they would have female comedians on, but they were kind of... Initially, they were almost trying to be like, oh, okay, I'll get the house style and I'll try and be ladette. Right. And it didn't really work, because you could see that that's someone doing something that... I mean, there are ladette comedians, I suppose. But
to be fair, it's bigger than that, because when it got quite laddie, as we say in that phase, the way that the recording works is that you've got 5 guys being competitive. I'm going to be the funniest. I'm going to get the most laughs. I'm going to get the most into the edit. I'm going to put the most out there, because of course they're recording for 1.5, 2 hours, and it cuts down to 30 or 20 something minutes. So as a woman, if you go on into that and you're waiting for them to politely let you speak,
it's not going to happen.
You're just going to look like an idiot on television because you're just going to be sitting there the entire time laughing at everybody else's jokes. So it was forced that women were having to, and a lot of women I know would go on there and go, I did not enjoy that at all, because that's just not...
Yeah.
That's not comfortable, is to just sit there, talk over each other, one-up each other.
I think, did Jo Brand do it once and then say she'd never do it again? I think she said she'd only ever do Have I Got News For You, but as the host. I think she said that.
What was the joke you told me the other day?
Oh, well, she did the battery acid joke. Is that what you mean?
Oh, that was huge...
I haven't heard that, because the only thing I thought about that was...
kerfuffle.
Yeah, I just thought, I'm sure I've heard more controversial stuff.
Are there any trends...
Okay, but let's be clear. The thing about Jo Brand and the battery acid joke is she was on a program that is specifically encouraging comedians to be as awful as possible.
Oh, right,
that was the context of her comment. And there were other things, and what she said is, milkshake, battery acid was her comment, and there were other comments in the show that people have listened to and just gone, well, this comment about this person was worse than this comment. The reason that got blown up out of proportion is because Nigel Farage himself complained.
Oh, right.
And he filed a complaint.
He's quite a crybaby, to be fair.
You know what? You have to see, yes, but you have to see it from two. So from her point of view, she made a joke in context of a comedy situation. And everyone went, this is outrageous, freedom of speech, whatever. However, once she made that comment and then he made a big deal about it, if anyone decided to go and do it, then she would have gone, then retrospectively, that was an incitement to violence. So it put her in a very dangerous position. And I certainly wouldn't want to have been her when that was huge in the news. I would have been like, oh, please don't be an idiot and do that, because that's going to come back on me.
Yeah.
So that's why we're having to watch ourselves in comedy these days.
I mean, I thought the only thing I thought about that was he kind of, because it was too real, because people are having acid thrown on them, these attacks, you kind of went, that's a little bit too, it might have been more fun if she said, throw, I don't know, that's just pulling out my arse here, but I mean, something outrageous that wouldn't happen, couldn't be possible anyway.
That's just the times have changed. We've turned to big babies. Years ago, you would have said, somebody said something, if somebody does it, it's nothing to do with them. It's a comedian. Leave it. It's nothing. But we go, well, somebody said something.
Well, it's kind of the violent video game argument, isn't it? But I mean, I don't think Hitler...
Which has been scientifically proven to have
because we're big babies.
Yeah, well, Hitler didn't play Call of Duty, did he?
Nobody wants to take
Hitler didn't play Call of Duty, did he?
He didn't eat meat either, because he didn't want to kill animals. So look at that.
So we're going to have to wrap it up. Is there any trend... What would I call them?
What would you call what? I mean, transgender
people,
transgender comedians. I'm sure there must be
people.
Well,
many.
Are there transgender
in the world? Yep.
No, but I mean that
they're here to stay.
Any transgender comedians? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
There are. Right?
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I actually saw.
And are they doing those sort of jokes, or is it just they're just trans people?
What do you mean those sort?
Are they?
Because
they usually go to the thing that's your thing. So is the jokes about them being transgender?
Well, that depends on each individual comedian. I mean,
I'm trying to think if I've seen. I might have seen a transgender.
You might have seen Jordan Gray. Jordan Gray's a comedian, and she was originally on The Voice. She got to the semifinals.
Is Izzard?
Eddie Izzard.
Is he a transgender?
He's transvestite, isn't he?
Yes.
I would say.
Oh, them again.
So So he wears makeup and high heels. That's probably about it, really, isn't it?
I think he had implants for a while, breast implants.
Did he?
Don't quote me on this at all. But definitely I mean, he would. I guess you could label it as transvestite. He basically expresses himself through his clothing, and he wears a wide range of things. I mean, David Beckham likes to wear a sarong. Do you remember that?
I think Eddie Izzard does self-identify as a transvestite. I'm sure I've heard him refer to himself as.
But he's not gay
so
or
too.
anything.
But again, nobody.
I don't know. I've no idea what his sexuality is. That's not part of it. Because he does make. I have heard him make jokes about how he dresses. Because sometimes he's just like t-shirt and shorts guy, and then sometimes he's very flamboyant.
So it's an act.
No, I don't think it's.
I've seen him in makeup and high heels, and I've seen him in jeans and a t-shirt and
I think it just depends on
loafers.
Yeah. I have no idea, but he does make that. I have heard him. I couldn't quote a joke, but I have heard him reference it
so he's
within
not trying
his
to be a woman. He just likes women and stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Well, it's not really ours anymore. It's really there for anybody who wants to wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nothing to do with sexuality anymore. It's just he likes
expression.
Yeah, so that's okay.
Boys can wear pink.
I felt sorry. The only thing of that the film I saw last night. What was his name?
Elton John. Yeah.
The you could tell he's obviously troubled. Like he started wearing peacock outfits and things like that on stage.
I guess so. But then that's part of, he's always been a flamboyant personality, isn't he?
That's cabaret, darling.
Yeah.
That's cabaret.
Yeah. Yeah, but talking of cabaret,
you're going to play a stadium. You need to be seen.
I've always liked comedians. Like I've never gone off. Some of them that I've listened to start to become a bit pretentious because they've been quite popular. But I thought I've always liked comedians, like groups of people, because I thought they're the one people you can rely on to just talk the truth and not be like they haven't been swayed into cutting down what they say.
I suppose there's always the subversive.
But I watch it since I've seen that film Cabaret. Is what you reminded me. Just to see, once they start attacking comedians, I think that's the end of it, because it'd be like the Downer, when they start laughing at people and then eventually they can't say anything. So I've been waiting to see how comedians react to stuff. So it's like what happened when you were saying about the battery acid thing. I was thinking, that's where it starts, mate. Once they can't say anything, that's where it really starts to cause. But now, it's a real big problem. Into like the Cabaret film, eventually you can't say no jokes about no Nazis or anything like that, because that's the problem. So when it was the battery thing, I thought, don't start on comedians. That's the end of the...
It was more, no,
don't make it juicy. That's what it is.
It was more, it just wasn't that funny.
No, it wasn't. It was this
I haven't
era
heard it, so
going blame. It's got blame something.
You have to remember, the issue was that got highlighted because the Nigel Farage, the person it was being spoken about, raised a complaint.
Because I was like, I've never even heard
that.
Of this.
That says about today's era. 30 years ago, you wouldn't even commented on it because you go, it's pointless. There's nobody to blame. But we got to that point now where you can suddenly say, oh, look, don't say that.
Look, flip it on its head. What if somebody threw a milkshake on somebody that we all know and love?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who do we all know and love? David Walliams.
David Attenborough.
What if somebody had gone up and thrown a milkshake over David Attenborough?
Yeah.
And David Attenborough raised a complaint because he'd been assaulted.
Yeah. Yeah,
everyone would be outraged on his behalf. It's only because nobody likes Nigel Farage generally that we're thinking he's being a big baby about it. But if somebody said they should throw battery acid on David Attenborough, everyone would be like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you saying?
I think
everybody would be outraged on his behalf.
No, but the outrage was the fact that somebody might do it and it caused a problem. But what I'm saying is, even if they did...
No, that's my point. That's the point I raised.
Okay. Well,
I'm saying at the time, Nigel said she's incited violence against me, even though it was very clear that she wasn't telling anyone else. Because immediately after she said battery acid, she went, it's not for me. She immediately after she said it went, I wouldn't do it.
But standing back, what's been created there is you can't say certain things.
But it was weird. I wonder how many, obviously it is BBC. I'd never even heard of it.
Of what?
Of the show that she was
No, I hadn't either.
Yeah, that was the ironic thing. It was
every comedian in the country went, what show is that? Who produces that?
Who can I... Where's the email address? Exactly, yeah.
Well, I say for more offensive stuff from comedians. That's what I think
you have to... Yeah, I think... It just depends if it's funny or not. Because sometimes I think...
You know what you need to do? You need to come to Comedy Unleashed.
Is that where you...
That is a free speech gig.
Yeah, maybe I might meet more people that agree with me.
Well... Exactly, your viewpoint is that at Comedy Unleashed, it's a free speech gig. It's erroneously believed to be within comedy some bastion of the right, that all these right wingers can go on and be homophobic. That's not the point of it. The point of it is that comedians can be free to try push boundaries in areas without the audience going, I'm offended on behalf of someone who wasn't here.
No limit.
So you're not. Well, yes, but the limit is. It has to be funny.
Right.
That's the limit. If it's funny, it's funny. Yeah. And the way that when I'm hosting it, I tell the audience, listen, this is how this works. You don't get to you can get upset. Don't tell me about it. But you don't get to start heckling or shutting down the gig. The way that you tell us that this is not okay is you don't laugh, because that's fundamentally all we're looking for as comedians is laughter.
So
and there's a lot of social conscience within a room. No matter what you believe politically, there's always going to be a social conscience. And collectively, if you make a joke about little people or a disabled child or something, people will go, no, not okay. You'll get that, oh, nah. You can feel them withdraw as you've gone, I have made a mistake here. And so that is the point of Comedy Unleashed. And we've had plenty of people all over the political spectrum do Comedy Unleashed, where the idea is that you're going, I want to try this idea out, but I know that if I try it out, maybe first of all, you can't try stuff out on a Friday, Saturday night. You need to bring your gold because you're being paid for that. But you might want to go to a new material night or an open mic night and go, I'm not comfortable trying this out because my intentions are good, but I get that if I handle it incorrectly the first time I say it out loud, it could be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
So Comedy Unleashed is where?
Well, actually, what are we today? Oh my goodness, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
No, today's Sunday.
No, but I mean, it is this Tuesday.
Right, okay.
They're once a month.
What is
but
it,
the
TV
next
show?
one is this Tuesday.
Is it a show, TV
It
show?
has a YouTube channel. So you can see sets from it on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
And then you can see that it isn't about
Comedy what? Unleashed.
But presumably people are going there to hear, let's say, edgy material under the umbrella there. You know,
they're going there, but the audience are also there not to be judged. But yes, they're going to see. There's some comics that play there that don't get a lot of work elsewhere. But when you look at their work, you go, actually, that's quite evolved thinking. That you have to be quite there are two ways of viewing comedy. There's the emotional reaction, and then there's the cerebral reaction. For example, Norwegians I find are very cerebral when they watch comedy. Germans as well. The Germans won't laugh. Germans will just go, "Oh yeah, that's a joke." Oh look, and that's a joke. So they'll look at the words, they'll look at construction, and go, "I appreciate that for the art form that is." And then there's the emotional reaction, which just goes, "I don't know why that's funny, but it's a monkey dancing on the ceiling, and I'm laughing." And so what we find is we get a lot of intellectual laughers, people who have seen a lot of comedy, people who are bored with what's on television because it is sanitized for the greater audience. So that's who we get there. Across the spectrum, in an audience we'll have way more people who voted leave than you might find in other comedy clubs, but still staunch remainers in there. You'll get them both in there, but they all understand this is not a time to fight about it. Yeah. We can all laugh at Brexit jokes together because we all know we're in the shit together.
Yeah. What was the thing that you told me? You said you saw a comedian, it made me laugh, and I forgot what it was. I was trying to remember.
I need more information than that.
He was bringing up slides or something.
Oh, it was Jimmy Carr. So his warm-up act was...
Who's Jimmy Carr now?
So Jimmy,
Scottish fella.
No, he's the guy that goes...
Your face or mine?
When he laughs?
I ain't got TV, so I don't know.
8 out of 10. He's
8 out of 10 cats.
Yeah,
the one that looks like Tintin, but with black
hair. Yeah. He looks like... He always says, I look like a bit like a sort of Lego Playmobil kind of person. That's
what was the joke?
So his joke was, what's worse than finding a maggot in your apple? Yeah. And so obviously the expectation is half a maggot, and then the next slide said being raped, and you went, well, that's quite strong. But obviously you're playing with the people's... That got a huge... But all his humour is very... Ooh, and then you laugh. But then he also makes reference to the fact about like, oh, that one got a thing, that one got a groan, that one got it. So he's always
pointing out.
He's a purist. He's always said he's there for the purity of the joke. So he came up with the shortest joke ever, which I can't remember what it is. He's like, it's 5 words and he counts on his fingers. But he's always been in complete academic pursuit of comedy.
Right.
And he doesn't believe in victims. So some people are like, it's only okay to punch up. Some people say you can never punch down. You can only punch up. Some people go, why do you have to punch? At all, there's so much good humor to be had about a football.
Gervais does that. He punches down. He jokes about the fact that he's got enough money to get on planes and doesn't have to be around people and things like that. And I thought, that's quite unique because usually it is punching.
But then is there a sort of like?
I mean, he's being ironic.
That's punching at himself, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, without hearing the actual joke, but.
But I think the thing with people like Jimmy Carr is that he kind of tends to go for that. If I offend everyone, I offend no one. Yeah. Like he doesn't seem to, from what I've seen. I haven't seen a show of his for a long time, but he tends to.
We got in trouble a couple of weeks ago for a joke.
Oh, what did he do now?
Well, he made a joke about. He made a joke about dwarves, little people, and abortion. Yeah, I think he said dwarf.
And was it dwarf that got him in the trouble?
No, it was the connection between the two.
Oh,
well, surely there's a joke. If there's a joke there. What do you mean the connection between the two?
Well, I'll say it because I know that it's out there in print because it got published. But his joke was, which I don't know. I think this is the argument, was because it wasn't. A lot of people say that's not funny.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a little person, an abortion that made it was his joke. But he might have said dwarf. Is a dwarf an abortion that made it?
Oh, right. I see what you mean.
And so a lot of people got upset by that. Yeah. See? A lot of people got upset by that. And you go,
that's...
what defines
it's more
the joke?
It's not funny.
The joke has to be funny, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's more it's not funny.
So he got in trouble with his Oscar Pistorius stuff. He's gotten in trouble over the years for certain things.
Oh, okay. Oh, so he's not perfect.
Oh, well, no, he also doesn't pay his tax, but he held his hand up for that, so...
Is that one of his own gags?
He
held his hand up but not out.
Yeah. Well, he did say, hey. So he said a thing on QI even recently. So even now he still back references the fact that because I was talking about he was on QI and they were doing about the different circles of hell, and I think there was something for like liars and cheats, and he said, oh, that'll be me and my accountant then.
Fair enough.
So but it's like, I don't know if he ever paid back the money. He probably did.
Right. So listen, we're going to wrap it up. What if you had one piece of advice for somebody, and not the bullshit advice, like be yourself and all that, something that we would specifically help somebody? Like it was the other day.
It's not hot coals advice.
Yeah, no. Somebody the other day, it's fairly pedestrian. I thought, no, that works. Where they was talking about journalism, and there was a woman on the radio. She said, "Do you know what I do?" She said, "If you want to get into journalism with all the other journalists," she said, "study the most obscure language that nobody's ever heard of, because one day there'll be a news story and they'll say, 'Can anybody speak whatever?'
Navajo or
and
Hawaii.
somebody will just go." And that will be it, and that's your way in. She said, study English and some obscure language that nobody's ever heard. And I thought, that's perfect,
well,
that is.
Actually, because that was my rambling story about my grandfather. When they came back to here, even though he didn't work in the police anymore, because there were so many Chinese takeaways, if there was something they used to joke and say, oh, if one chef's had an argument and tried to chop off the other one's arm with a meat cleaver, he'd be going there to sort it out because they could trust him and go, oh, well, he's English, but he speaks fluent Chinese, so we can, he can be
so
our
he would get
intermediary.
called.
Yeah, he would get called.
Works,
So, I appreciate that advice. It's interesting advice. It hasn't worked for me yet because when the Iraq War happened, then that pushed the careers of certain Muslim comics and everything. I'm still waiting for Filipinos to do something so crazy that they're like, we need a Filipino. Yeah, and, still waiting for that.
Not Duterte in his war. Is it Duterte? I don't know how you say his name. The prime minister, the president of Philippines. And his let's call them extrajudicial treatment of.
The problem is that even though it's funny how much people love him for what he's doing because he is properly cleaning the swamp out as opposed to what Trump's doing, but he's overshadowed.
Yeah.
He hasn't. I don't think there's enough public visibility of Filipinos in the UK for that news to hit the headlines frequently. I think it's going to have to be bigger than that.
Hold on, maybe one day there'll be something there.
Yeah, one day.
Get a couple of lines out of it. So is there anything that you could say, somebody, if it was like you, and you go, right, forget that.
Who am I giving advice to?
To yourself, I suppose.
I'm giving advice to myself?
10 years ago, 15 years ago, something you should have done more of or less of, or don't do that, or do this. Must be something. Like if it was me, I'd say stop. But the perfection slowed you down. There's no perfection. Stop trying to chase it. It doesn't work. Let it go. Because I can remember, everything was fucking perfect, and everybody around me was perfect, or fucking nothing. That was it.
So you wouldn't take such an absolutist approach.
Yeah, because I'm still half letting it go. You have to let people. Be
I must have missed that day.
My standards are rock bottom, and I'm not giving any more away.
Oh, no comment.
Right, so what I'm saying is anything that's yourself.
Just be glad you're here, okay?
Yeah.
All right? You wouldn't be here otherwise. That's what
I've lowered my standards so much.
Yeah, exactly.
That you were able to walk in.
I know that I was a let in the door.
No, so, there must be something that you go, if I'd have done that, that would have been easier. I should have done that a bit quicker.
I think that it's always the way you look at your own career. I think that definitely having children at the points I had them, and some were intended at those points and some were less intended, certainly stalls things and slows things down. With my first kid, I underestimated how much that would slow down.
Because you had your first child after your BSc, or is that right? Sorry.
No, I had her after my PhD. But by the time I finished my PhD, I had a number of television credits. I was a professional comedian. I was working on the circuit, and I just thought, I'm just going to retire, have a kid, come back again, and slot right back in. And that's not how the world works. If you're gone, they think you're gone. Yeah. Especially back in those days. Oh, she's had a kid. We won't see her again. She'll be a mum now.
Well, I suppose nowadays you could keep doing stuff at home, even on YouTube.
Now you could, but that didn't exist back then.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Oh, right, so not literally back then. But I mean, if somebody coming up, you would say...
Well, you were asking me to give advice to myself 10, 15 years ago.
But I mean,
all right, so my advice to myself 10, 15 years ago is YouTube's coming. Watch it. Watch it. YouTube's coming. Facebook's coming.
Get in there
YouTube's
early.
coming. Netflix is coming. Be aware
Buy shares in Facebook.
Yeah.
Buy Bitcoin.
There's this guy called Zuckerberg. He looks like an ass. But
I'd tell everyone, fucking sacrifice more. We all want to have everything and the this and that and the other. There was an acting teacher once. I can't remember her bloody name. She's a voice coach. But she was saying... it's not advice, but the advice is know that the people you're up against. So you want to go on holidays, and there's only one holiday a year, and you want to get a little car, or you want to stay. She said, know that there are people living in a room with no TV, with no family, and are working 20 hours a day to get to be an actress. They're spending any penny they've got on acting classes. They're spending their spare money on vocal classes. She said, if you want to get involved... just know that you're up against those people.
That exists now in comedy. Yeah. Definitely, there are people who can still live with their parents, or who who have another job while they're working on it, so that they can afford to go further for less money.
But I think that thing of really sacrificing, just going.
That's why I quite love Snoop Dogg when he got that some kind of lifetime award, and he said, "I want to thank me for never taking a day off."
Yeah. Although, funny enough, what day is today? Friday. I was talking to somebody about Snoop Dogg, and I sort of like him, but I have to remember that he promotes being a pimp. Now that's fine, Hollywood, PIMP, all that, and I go right. But if you've grown up around people that do that, there's no PIMP. They're sex traffickers and people commit suicide. So that thing that he promotes, it's like that weird blurring of life again. Where pimp, what, you're a sex trafficker? Is that a funny thing? Is that something you're proud of when you rings?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of traffic. But then a lot of rap music does promote.
Yeah, I know, but it's the fact that he's so well known and he's still promoting the fact I used to be a pimp. And you go, oh, okay, so how many women killed themselves or took heroin?
Was he actually a pimp?
Yeah, well, he says he is, so that's enough. Why promote that?
Don't know. So your advice would be don't be a pimp.
Definitely, try not to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean.
I was going to make a joke there.
No,
that's just. That's just a pyramid scheme on a micro level, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
guess
they're the worst.
There's women. There's self-employed women out there doing what they need to do to survive, and you're skimming 10% off the top.
Yeah. Yesterday, I was having a long conversation with somebody about when I used to do security for escorts and the different types of people you meet.
How are we only getting to this now?
I've been pulling at this one. I'm trying to
check the legalities of my background because I've done so much bad stuff for so long. Morally, always on the right-hand side, which was my problem.
I didn't know morals had a left and a right-hand side.
Yeah, I had to come from a shitty background, but I was stupidly fairly decent. I had a moral code.
That's because you never watched ITV.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, could be. I mean, that you really circled that round. That was beautiful.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Although you did have to suffer visits from the priest periodically as a child, so I don't know.
We weren't talking about that on air, was we? Okay, so that fell flat. That joke.
I don't know when you turned the cameras on.
To be honest, we never do. I thought they just say, "Oi, we're recording," and that's where it starts.
Well, it's because you go into a rant and a ramble, and then we're like, "We're gonna stop in,"
See, that's the thing. It's your terminology. I'm very sane and very sort of straightforward, and everyone else is all.
I don't think you're supposed to use those words on yourself. Other people need to describe you as that for it to be true.
No, they need to be bloody told.
I'm a stable genius.
I've told you before. It's the Lauren Hardy. I'm the freak now. I'm the sensible one. The world's gone mental, so now I'm the freak being sensible. I'm on my own for being the sensible one. That's the one that does it without all the emotions and the worry and the distress. And I'm doing it for everyone else, not me. Everyone else is doing it for them. But somehow I've become the fucking outsider. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I just like poking the bear. So what kind of stuff have you? What have you got coming up next? Kind of, is there something we can point people to?
Well, certainly, if you're free on Tuesday night, it's in Bethnal Green. Come to Comedy Unleashed if you're interested. I mean, don't come if you're a comedy virgin.
Oh, you're at Comedy Unleashed.
I happen to be there this Tuesday.
Right, okay.
And then again in September.
Okay.
What else? I mean, I'm around. I mean, how wide is your reach? I'm in Amsterdam for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, no.
No, we do get
Dutch
listeners. We have got Dutch listeners.
We've got lots in Vietnam.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, I'm not in Vietnam anytime soon.
Japan, we've got some in Japan.
And then also your
I'd go there.
You've got your YouTube channel, haven't you?
I've got a YouTube. Yeah,
so
YouTube.
Would I just go Ria Lina?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
There's no other Ria Lina that's.
Surprisingly, so many Indonesian housewives called Ria Lina on Facebook. I thought the name was
joke?
unique. No.
Oh, no.
If you look up Ria Lina on Facebook, there's me, and then there's all of these other women that kind of look like me.
Like, really?
Just everyone decided to steal your identity. Like all the identity
apparently, it's a really common name, and I can't even have Ria Lina on Twitter because someone got there before me.
Hell.
Never used it. Just sits on the name.
Someone did that. Someone wrote a book and under the name Andrew Fawn, and I was like, "Are you for real?" Because I had people going, "Oh, did you write a book? I didn't know that." And I was like, "No."
Well, it annoys me. John Higgins, the
snooker world,
the snooker player,
one of the greatest snooker players of all time, is it?
You have to get about page 10 before he pops up, and he's more talented than the snooker player, by the way. He is. What's the bloody hitting a ball? Nothing.
Anyway, so you have a YouTube channel. We've been just find by Ria Lina.
You can find me on all the. So I'm on the Twitter, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Insta, and the YouTube.
And you're presumably the top link every time. If people just
if you search my name spelled correctly, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You will.
What would be the other spelling?
Well, people put H's in there. They put E's in there.
Ria Lina.
No, but Ria, it can be RHEA, can't it?
It can if you're Greek.
Yeah. You could have the real Leon. You could go for that. The real. Put that in front of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Real Ina. The real Ina.
And do you have any more sort of TV stuff coming up or radio stuff coming up?
What's the date today?
Sunday.
No, date.
Oh, 7th of
Is
July.
it the 7th? Oh, today's the last day you can see me on Comedy Underground on iPlayer.
Okay.
So
you're on
there. Yeah, and if you Google Comedy Underground, I'm the one with my picture. And the episode that has my picture on it. And then actually if you go to YouTube, the stuff, I think someone's put the BBC World Service gig from Christmas is up.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I had a look, I had a quick look earlier because I was actually looking at your songs, your Alabama protest song.
Oh, and how did it make you feel?
It made me laugh.
Excellent.
And it made me think. I was like, yeah, because it was about there was a line about how people, who are making the decisions, they would give, because it was there was a line about testicular cancer, wasn't there?
Yeah, so abortion is obviously a very strong topic, and it's not easily handled in a comedic environment. You have to really know your audience. And actually, I
as Jimmy Carr found out.
So I premiered that song actually in Amsterdam. And it went really well. I was like, I'm nervous in London, but in Amsterdam, I started in Amsterdam and then had the confidence to bring to the UK. So do look that up. But I am not in favor of what's happening in Alabama and Georgia and generally in the US. They're reducing. So Roe v. Wade happened in the 70s, which means that abortion has to be legal across the US because that was a Supreme Court decision. However, the actual ins and outs of how it's legal is left up to individual states, and they've been restricting access and ability to have. So in Georgia, you can have an abortion, but not after the fetus has a heartbeat, which happens around 6-7 weeks of pregnancy, which means you can often have a fetus with a heartbeat before you even know you're pregnant. So, or the width of the corridors in abortion clinics have to be this wide, and that shut a lot of clinics across the U.S. because they're like, they're not wide enough. Because they're trying to scaremonger people into believing that abortions are more dangerous than they are, and going, well, if anything goes wrong, you need to put them on a gurney and rush them to hospital. They needed to have abortion doctors having admission rights to local hospitals, which they don't tend to have either, in case something goes wrong. So all of the clinics that couldn't have a gurney down, but these are very rare. So they're legislating for extremely rare cases, which actually reduces the majority of them from being able to happen. So it's become very tricky to be a woman in the U.S. I mean, even after all of that, and luckily they've dropped the charges, but at one point in Alabama, they were charging a woman with manslaughter who got shot while pregnant and lost the baby. And they said, you are responsible for the death of your baby because started the fight that ended up you getting...
Oh, yeah, I remember.
What the hell?
Now, they've now dropped the charges, but there was a period of time where they were going to convict, or they were trying to convict a woman who got shot, a victim of gun. Yeah. And the other woman who shot the gun was let off, even though it's not legal to shoot people. Oh, but if you shoot someone who started a fight, who happens to be pregnant, who happened to lose a baby, then it's...
Because, because in America, they do tend to be more on whoever starts the fight. If they something happens to them, that's their fault for starting the fight. But I don't understand that.
Exactly.
Being shot.
I live in a comedy. I live in a comedy world. That's what.
But getting shot, and yeah. Have
you got any jokes to end the show on?
No,
nothing. I don't end on abortion.
Yeah. We should.
No, just saying. Yeah, it was only because we obviously
the comedy. You not got one joke in your head.
Not that I can think.
We've got the pub one.
I copied the joke from Jimmy. Have you ever been a victim of joke stealing? Have you ever had someone steal a joke?
Do you know, I was doing, it's funny, actually, I was doing an Oscar Pistorius joke, and I had it in my show, and then about a month or two later, Jimmy Carr got in trouble for telling that joke, and I was like, that's my joke. But there's no way that he would have, there's no actual way that he would have seen me, because what happens sometimes is that big comics have writers. The writers go and watch shows.
And you told me.
So it is technically
comedians have writers. That pissed me off. Yeah, that really pissed me off. Because
do you have a writer? Is this going to be a fight?
I have worked with writers in the past. Like I've tried. Like I had a corporate, and I didn't have time to. It was a corporate. 2 Dutch people in Holland, and because of my schedule, I didn't have time to research that company as much as I wanted to. So I trialed hiring someone to just write me some generic jokes about that company, so that I had something to go with. In the end, I didn't use them, but to be able to have a cheat sheet of stuff and go, okay, let's just see what there is.
Why have a load of writers writing jokes, why don't they just be the comedians? Why are you giving jokes to someone?
Yeah, but we all write for each other as well. I mean, and then I was doing a topical comedy show last week where I worked with, I've sat and worked with people, and we can sit there together and go, okay, I've got this half idea about Nigel Farage, and can you help me finish it? That kind of thing. So writing together is common, and asking someone to write for you is not uncommon, but you still have to make it your own. But it's very common, especially if you're at a level where you're being asked to produce. If you're on Mock the Week every week for, 12 weeks, however long a season is, that's a lot of content to try and come up with on your own.
I just think if you can't do it, you've got to be you. Like I told you, I like comedians, got a lot of reverence for comedians, and when I found out that they're not writing their own stuff, it's like another delusion, another bullshit.
I do remember that day, actually.
That really pissed me off.
I felt it was like I told him Santa wasn't.
Because I've only got a few groups of people that I like, and they will always one the committee. And we said, well, it's not them, it's their writers.
Yeah, but they're still picking what works within their voice.
I don't have any blurred lines.
I
would feel terrible if it was me. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
The only joke I could think of was with it's so old, but it's the horse in the pub, and the guy says, "Why the long face?" That's the only one I've got. Oh, there was what was I'll put my glasses on for this, so if it goes bad, I know that it's the glasses that let me down. So what was his name? He used to wear the fez.
Oh, Tommy Cooper.
yeah. What joke?
We're hitting where all the top, where all the current. Really, yeah.
He said, "Got my glasses on." Yeah. So he said, "I want to get fit." So he said, "I went into the fitness centre, and I said to the head guy, right, I want to be as strong fit as a gymnast." And he took a step back, looked at me, he said, "Well, how flexible are you?" And he said, "I can't do Tuesdays."
Fair enough.
Bloody glasses! I knew they would work.
Classic. A classic.
All right, well, thank you very much. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, on that, thank you very much.
Ria.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And what is the thing that we can catch you on iPlayer now just for the rest of the
Comedy
day?
Underground.
Comedy Underground.
Today only.
Today only. Okay, cool.
And you can finish off your...
my
thank you.
Pig dog.
Bye-bye.
Bye.